Well, good evening.
Good evening.
So I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30 here on February 26th. Welcome to the meeting of the Harwich Board of Appeals on this date, February 26th. The purpose of this meeting is to hear and decide applications before the Board of Appeals which have been brought pursuant to the bylaw of the town of Harwich and the Massachusetts Zoning Enabling Act. As required by law, the town may audio or video record this meeting, which we are. The person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. First, to kick things off, our clerk is not here tonight, Al Donahue, and I'd like to make a motion to the board that Chris be assigned as clerk tonight for the meeting.
I would second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Tonight's hearing, at the last board meeting, the decision was reached that we will not hear a case, we will not start a new case after 9:30. In view of the fact we have a number of cases tonight, we've changed our process a little bit, and one key factor of the meeting is to review and do a summary of all the documentation, as well as findings of facts and conditions for each case. So typically, I always project them up front, because I have most of the documentation in advance, and I prepare those, and I read them during the meeting. Tonight, we have them all written out, and for the applicant and the attorneys and the board to review. So if they can read through it, then approve that we have everything here. And I did give all the cases to, for the first 6 cases, to Attorney Crowell Donovan. Regarding 13 Braddock, I do have a copy of that for those folks. Are you here tonight? Okay, so after the first session, I'll give you a copy of this so you have it, so you're, in case we get to your meeting tonight. And hopefully we get to you, but we're trying to speed things up. And I'd like to now, let's hear our first case.
Introduce the board.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Thank you. Can we introduce the board, please? Starting with
Dave Nunley.
Kenneth Dixon.
Chris Murphy.
Brian Sullivan.
John August.
Tim Bailey.
Okay. And I'd like to have clerk call the first case.
First case, case number 2025-07, Stephen and Peggy Trowbridge. Attorneys Crowell and Donovan representing them. Owner of the property located at 18 Bayview Road, Assessors Map 14, Parcel X1 in the RL zoning district. The applicant seeks a special permit, or in the alternative, a variance, from 325-14 T3K supplementary regulations, 325-54A7 alteration or extension of other structures, and 325-54A non-conforming structures, 325 attachment 2, table 2 area regulations, and 325 attachment 3, table 3 height and bulk regulations, to demolish and replace a pre-existing non-conforming detached garage pursuant to the Harwich zoning bylaws 325-52 and 54 and the Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6 and 10. We received no comments from the police and water departments. They said they had no problems. There's a Harwich Board of Health mentioned that a Title V inspection of the septic system needs to be conducted by a licensed Title V inspector prior to the building permit sign-off. And there was an abutters letter from Caroline Fletcher on 24 Baby Road stating that she had no objections to the building projects, and that was received also. And no other comments from other town departments or abutters were received.
Okay. I'd like to have the applicant representatives introduce themselves.
Michael Donovan here, along with Bill Kroll, representing the Trowbridges, who are seated over here, Steve and Peg in the front row there. If you have any questions that you want to direct to them, that's fine. They can answer anything you have. So this is, as we said, it was on 18 Bayview Road. There's a main house, that's a house built in the 1820s, and then there's another structure in the back, that's been there for extended, I think around the same time. And then what this hearing relates to is the detached garage that is on the north side of the property. That's freestanding, single garage right now that is dated somewhere in like the 1950s. So the Trowbridges have a long history with this property. Their grandfather bought it back in the early 1900s and has remained in the family since then. In 2017, Steve and Peg obtained a special permit from the ZBA here that undertook a renovation of the main house. I had put in there a nice article on the Cape Cod Life that kind of described that and trying to keep the antique nature of it, but kind of upgrade the inside of it and keep the historic charm of it. For our purposes, that's important because they're trying to do the right thing again with the garage. They are moving here full-time, or have moved here full-time recently, and would like two-car garage, a little more space for storage and so on there. But they want to keep that historic charm that the property has. The other thing that I would note about this lot is it's a very unusual lot. If you look at the site plans, there's, you know, a kind of what I would call the main lot, which is a rectangle shape kind of going east and west, and then there's a secondary kind of portion of the lot, which is going north to south, that just connects in one corner of it, and that is almost entirely covered by a tennis court. There's a whole past history of that it used to be the neighbors each owned a portion of that, and the tennis court, and Steve's dad actually bought them out, and so that's why it's now part of this whole lot, but they've maintained it as a tennis court, and all the neighbors are allowed to use it and so on, so it's kind of a community tennis court. But it's part of their property, and that is important insofar as coverages and site coverages, why kind of we're here and what may apply or not apply as far as how this project could be approved under what method. So, and I don't want to go through, because in the interest of time, I think everything, what's conforming and what's not conforming, what's applicable here, I think, and if you have questions of that, we can do that in the question session, but I know we're trying to get through all of these. So the garage, the question is, if the north side of it, the setback is non-conforming of that garage, and it's 8.9 currently, and under the proposed plans, it will move about a foot away from that lot line, so it will be 10, but obviously still not conforming because it's a 20-foot setback on that side. And so the garage is going to be built starting that 10 feet from the lot line and then on the south direction, so it's going away from that north section there. And it will leave some space there in between that main house and the garage, because they're the look they want, there's windows there that they would have to deal with, and they need a way to get into the backyard as well. So I've set forth in the narrative, you know, this one is lengthier than most of them because it seems like there may be several different paths to get to approval here on this project. The first one that I set forth is the fairly new bylaw section that says that the Zoning Board of Appeals can grant a special permit for pre-existing non-conforming principal dwellings and residential accessory buildings that do not comply with the setback or lot coverages. This is a residential accessory building, and a strict reading of that appears that that applies. Now, I recognize that this could be read as the site summary that was prepared by the building department says, well, it's meant to mean a residential accessory building that has an ADU inside of it. It's not what it says here, but it's certainly a fair reading. It could go either way as far as, given the placement of it in the bylaw, that may be what it means. But I set that forth there as a potential because it is a residential accessory building, and that's what that section says. The second potential path is through the case law, that I cited the cases there that are saying that an addition of a one-story garage for no more than 2 vehicles, or a conversion of a one-story garage for 1 motor vehicle to a one-story garage for 2 motor vehicles, is of such a small-scale nature that it would not be considered an intensification of a pre-existing nonconformity, and therefore that it would be able to be applied as of right without seeking a special permit. That was the case back in 2008, the Borgman case, and then in Comstock in 2020, which the board I think is familiar with, they added and said that they recognized that it's out there, but that case didn't require them to address that issue. But it does say that although we did not reach the question, that the legislature intended the protections to apply to one-family and two-family residents, also apply to buildings that serve the accessory structures. We note that one case touches on that issue, and it's cited to Borgman, and it's specifically cited, included is the addition of a one-story, two-car garage, and then it says, without mention of whether such a garage was attached or freestanding. So that now is from 2008 up to 2020, they're now saying it's not clear, they didn't address specifically whether it has to be attached or not attached. And then in 2022, as you can see the case law is going, the land court comes in and says that, as hinted by the court in Comstock and Bordland, it might be read to imply that detached accessory structures to single or two-family homes are not categorically not excluded from the protections of Section 6 of 40A. So it appears that that's where things are headed. It doesn't appear that it's required to find that way or not find that way. And some towns have adopted that. My understanding is Harwich at this point historically has treated a detached building separately from the building, the main dwelling itself, and not applied the special permit standard to that. But I would say that the board is free under these cases to take that position and say that it is entitled to a special permit of an addition of a one-story, two-car garage. And then the last method to get there would be a variance, which is what was cited, the section cited 325-54A-7B. And under the variance standard, there's three components. Is the requested relief due to the condition, shape, or topography of the land, and which especially affects the particular lot, but not the zoning district more broadly? 2, would literal enforcement of the bylaw cause a substantial hardship to the petitioner, financial or otherwise? And 3, does the requested relief, does it not pose a substantial detriment to the public good, and does it not go against the intent or purpose of the bylaw? And we would submit here that all 3 of those elements are satisfied here in this case. We clearly have an unusual shape where we have basically 2 discrete portions of the lot. The extra portion is covered by the tennis court. So the reason that we're in the variance standard is because we're over the site coverage. If we were not, then Section A would apply, and we would be allowed to do this as of right. But because the site coverage is over, we don't get the benefit of Section A, and we have to go through on Section B. But we certainly meet that standard of an unusual lot shape. Hardship, it would be a hardship if they cannot renovate the existing garage, which needs to be both renovated, and for their purposes, they would like to increase the size of that, given that they're now living there full-time residents. They're moving it away from the lot line, admittedly only 1 foot, but it is away from the lot line. And that's going to be helpful to the area and provide more space that's there. They need that space between the garage and the house to be able to get into the backyard, because if you see the way the house is set up, it's at a diagonal level. There's about, I think it says like 7.9 feet on the south side of the house, but a large portion of that is those very mature hedges that have been there for a long time. So to pass through there, that area is much shorter than that. And the area to the north of the garage, there's trees there separating this lot from the lot to the north. So there needs to be space left there in between to be able to get lawnmowers and other landscaping equipment into the backyard. And then the last part about the relief, would it be without substantial detriment to the public good? And without derogating from the intent or purpose of the bylaw, we would submit that yes, that's certainly the case here. It's not going to create any more traffic, noise, odor, congestion. This garage has been there since the 1950s. It hasn't created any problems at this point. We're not increasing, we're actually decreasing the nonconformity in it. And the only party that would really be affected in any way with this would be the neighbor to the north that's on that lot line, who are in fact the Fletchers, who, as was read into the record, submitted a letter of support for this project. Trowbridges are good neighbors with them, have spoken with them, provided the plans to them, and they're fully supportive of the project. That's all I have for the presentation. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, thank you. I'd like to ask the board if they have any questions. David?
I have no questions.
No questions.
I mean, it seems to me it needs a variance based on what other cases we've had and by the bylaw. But it's also an existing garage, certainly going to improve the area, and that lot shape is particularly, I mean, it's narrow up front, you got a lot of unusable land in the back. I mean, it's just off to the side, so I think it qualifies for the variance, but I think you need a variance.
I would agree. And the existing structure is in need of replacement, and it's a pre-approved current structure, pre-existing, non-conforming structure, which the replacement's going to be a minor intensification of the current footprint, and I see no reason why it's going to be any type of detriment, to the neighborhood. Okay, that's why I feel it's fine for a variance.
I agree. I think a variance is appropriate here. I do think the 325-14T is not a good argument, but we can get on that. Since the title of that section is actually accessory to apartment, right, which we're not talking about here. right?
We use everything we got, Mr. August.
Good try.
I agree, it's existing, you're not replacing it with a monstrosity. I don't have any objections. Okay.
I have no questions.
Okay, excellent. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak regarding this case? Okay. So, hearing none, any final comments from the applicant and the board?
None.
All right. And so, if we would all take a look at the pre-written review of this case's documents and so forth. So you've got the listing here of the information that's been submitted, findings of facts. Are there any additions that anyone would like to offer regarding this list? Do we approve the first two?
None.
No additions.
No additions? We're all set in that? Okay. Regarding, as far as, and I should have asked a question, the time frame on this project?
Yeah, what are the timeframe? When are you looking to begin?
April, mid-April.
Okay. And question at hand here is whether or not, in that neighborhood, folks, if we need to have first a date requirement, as far as that, as well as parking, on the property. Do you feel the fact that when contractor comes in, that be able to park the vehicles on the existing property, or is it gonna be on the street?
Yeah.
Good.
Actually, we have neighbors that we've already discussed this with, who are being very cooperative and helpful.
In other words,
And Bob is also a neighbor who'll be.
we'll park our cars somewhere else so that they can use the.
Okay.
All right, so you're gonna be able to maintain your vehicles during the construction on your lot?
Correct.
All right. Given the neighborhood situation, what is our board's opinion regarding the time commitment? They're gonna start in April, so a lot of it should be done anyways.
Yeah, the exterior should be done, you would think.
Okay.
It's pretty tight down there.
I would like to consider the fact on the conditions that we do implement the June 30th of Labor Day for no exterior construction. Any objections from the attorney and applicants?
You all right?
Memorial Day,
You have the shell up. They
Yeah.
can work on the inside.
June 30th.
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Okay.
Okay. So, we're, on the conditions of approval then, the four items on the draft are are going to be included, and are there any discussion or objections to that?
No.
Okay. All righty. That being the case, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the information submitted, the findings of facts, and the conditions as listed. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
yes,
I'm sorry. I did-
it's too late.
I think we want, if I understand the approval is, or what's going to be voted on is a variance, it says special permit.
We're not on the, we're going to do a variance,
Okay,
yes.
so under D, then, you might want, it says a violation in terms of this special
Oh,
permit.
thank you very much.
You might want to say variance
Yep.
there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I love it when we find corrections. Means people are paying attention. All right, so we've seconded by Ken. All those in favor?
Aye.
Full approval of the board. And I'd like to have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All right, Ken, I have a second?
Second.
Second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 6-0. The voting on this case tonight, be David Nunnally, Chris Murphy, Tim Bailey, John August, and Ken Dixon. And I'd like to now entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Additional discussion by the board or the applicant? Okay. And I'd like to ask the clerk to make a motion.
Case number 2025-07, Stephen and Peggy Trowbridge, represented by Bill Crowell and Michael Donovan. The Trowbridges are the owners of the property located at 18 Bayview Road, Assessors Map 14, Parcel X1, in the RL zoning district. The applicant has been granted a variance from 325-14T3K supplemental regulations, 325-54A7, alteration or extension of other structures, 325-54A, non-conforming structure, 325 Attachment 2, Table 2, area regulations, and 325 Attachment 3, Table 3, height and bulk regulations, to demolish and replace a pre-existing non-conforming detached garage, having found that the applicant meets the requirements of the Howard zoning bylaws and Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 10, due to the shape and size of the land, and further, as the applicant seeks relief to replace a pre-existing detached garage, the failure of the board to make this grant will result in a substantial hardship to the applicant. The board further finds that the conditions is specific to the property and does not generally affect the entire district, and that there will be no substantial detriment to the public good by the granting of the variance, and that by granting will not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent and purposes of the bylaw. All work shall be performed in accordance with the plans submitted with the application. Conditions: during the life of the project, there should be no demolition, exterior construction, or new landscaping between June 30th and Labor Day of any year. During the life of the approved project, all construction vehicles will be parked on the applicant's property and not in the public street or road. Issuance of the building permit is subject to the approval of the Board of Health. And a violation of the terms and conditions of this variance may be enforced as a violation of the Howard zoning bylaw pursuant to General Law 48, Section 7, in the Howard zoning bylaw, as they may be amended from time to time.
Can I have a second on this?
Second.
Okay, David? Second it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved, 5-0. You have your variance.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, can anybody play in those tennis courts? Oh, down the way.
Not pickleball, though, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice. Okay. I'd like to ask the clerk to call the next case.
Case number 2025-8, Melbourne and Britannia Moody, care of Bill Kroll and Michael Donovan, owners of the property located at 11 Sandale Lane, Assessors Map 35, parcel C1-25 in the RR zoning district. The applicant seeks a special permit or an alternative of variance from 325-54A, 1A, alteration or extension of single or two-family residential structures, and 325- attachment 2, table 2, area regulations, and 325 attachment 3, table 3, height and bulk regulations, to enclose a breezeway, hardscaping, and construct a roof deck on their pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling pursuant to the Howard zoning bylaw 325-52 and 54 and Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6 and 10. Notices, relevant notices or notice from the department, the Howard Police, Health, and Water Departments have no concerns, and that's been submitted. No other comments from town departments or butters have been received.
Okay. I'd like to have the applicant representatives introduce themselves.
Thank you. Attorney Bill Kroll and Michael Donovan representing the petitioners this evening, who are Melbourne Moody. Melbourne, if you'd raise your hand, and his daughter Britannia are the owners of the property. I've represented them previously in another real estate transaction a year or two ago. First of all, last month I had to get up and leave the table a couple of times with no explanation because I had that cold that's going around and I didn't want to subject you all to a coughing fit. So I've got a bottle of water and I'm over it as far as I can tell, but I apologize for that. Also, in this particular situation, the Moody's had undertaken construction and received the notice or a visit from the building commissioner in this, and issued a stop work order, and they had to apply for the building permit, so forth. And I've, as I say, I know them. I've been asked Mr. Moody, and he said, quite frankly, since he already owned the property, he didn't think he needed a building permit if he was doing the work himself, he and his family members.
Sure.
In any event, they apologized to the board and to the town for undertaking the construction, but here we are. So if we can assume for the moment that none of that ever happened, and we're just considering it on the facts tonight of whether they would qualify for a special permit, it would be appreciated.
We don't hand out demerits, so go right ahead.
No demerits. Okay, good. So the property is located on the north side of Route 28 in South Harwich, off of Ridgevale Road. You go past Depot Street, and on your way to Chatham, make a left, and you're at Sandale. And as the clerk read, they're seeking a special permit to enclose a breezeway, have some hardscaping, front steps, and mainly a roofed deck to the rear of the property, and it slopes down. If you visited the site, which I have, there's significant sloping, and it's a walkout basement, there's a slider, and so they want to have a two-level deck, which makes all kinds of sense to me. And the hardscaping is to prevent erosion and water, rainwater runoff, either from the neighbor's property to theirs or from theirs to the neighbor's, but that's the main reason for the walls. Basically, the roof deck meets all the setbacks, as does the step and deck on the front of the building, and the enclosed breezeway. What we're dealing with tonight is increases in building coverage and site coverage, primarily due to the hardscaping. But from a strictly setback standpoint, for the additions and the renovations that they want to make, they meet the setback requirements. So I won't go through those setbacks because they're conforming. but the building coverage is presently non-conforming at 18.2%. It's a 15% max in that zone, and it will increase slightly to 19.4%. The site coverage is non-conforming at 40%, 25% max, and will increase to 50.7, as I said, mainly due to the hardscaping, walkways, and the like, because the deck is not that large, and it's one on top of the other, so it's not twice the area, it's just that single area. So their contention is that the roofed deck and the other smaller renovations would not constitute, would not be a substantial increase or result in a substantial increase in noise, odors, fumes, congestion, traffic, or the like, would not create a nuisance, and that there would be no substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood if the board granted the requested special permit this evening. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to have members of the board, any questions or comments? Starting with Tim?
I have no questions.
The only question I had that I was scratching my head a little on, and it's not a demerit, as you say, the increase in the site coverage, it doesn't seem to me like there's that much addition that wasn't already there. Was
The
the previous-
10%, I struggle with that too, but.
Yeah, I mean, is it because the previous calculation maybe didn't include some of the stuff that was added over time, or?
I can't answer for Mr. Stello. He's
already-
very, very particular as a surveyor.
Yeah.
I've worked with him many times, so I trust his calculations when he says it's basically a 11% increase.
John, if I might, is that because we're putting the roof over the deck? I don't know if the deck counted as site.
Well, there was already a concrete slab there, which should have been lot coverage.
At the deck?
Yeah.
The
There was a
deck
slab and
concrete?
patio that covers most of the area of the new patio, right? So you're really just talking the hardscaping off to the, I guess,
Right.
east side and a little bit around the fire pit.
Right. That deck should not have
It didn't
increased.
seem to me that that would represent, over 10% increase in lot coverage. But again, it's not something that I would hold against it. It's just for future reference, I don't know. If they want to do anything else, they're already way over it. If the number should be lower, maybe they can correct it.
Later on, if they come back, say, oops, it was
Yeah.
really only a 3% increase, but. Understood.
That's the only question I had.
Okay. Regarding the eventual conditions and so forth, given that neighborhood and so forth, and I don't feel that a time frame condition would be required, my own thoughts on that.
Thank you.
I would agree.
And I think as well as, I think even maintaining construction vehicles on the lot. Anybody have a comment on construction vehicles on the lot from seeing the lot?
It's on a cul-de-sac.
It's a cul-de-sac, so I don't think that needs to be included as well.
Right. I
Maybe
agree.
eliminate those conditions.
Thank you.
Okay. Just one minor thing, show the front yard setback is proposed of 25.4, not changing, but obviously it is changing. It used to be probably larger than 25.4. It doesn't matter, it's conforming, but just want to point that out.
It is. I think what Mr. Stello's doing, if you look over to the left, he's got 25.4.
To the new front deck.
Right, but if
And-
you look to the left of that, to the other 25.4, where the driveway is, over to the left,
Oh,
that's where he's coming from on both plans.
okay, thank you. All right,
All right.
okay.
Because I looked at that at first, the same reaction, like, how can that still be 25.4 when you're putting this little step deck on the
Sure.
front?
I didn't consider,
It's the other one.
okay. Good to know. All right, so that's my only comments.
I have no comments.
I have no comments.
If you're embarking on this yourself, are you interested in taking other projects in town, Mr. Mooney?
It looks great, doesn't it?
It does look good.
Yes.
No question.
And he works without a permit.
No questions.
I'm sorry, I said it.
Strike that from the record, Your Honor.
Okay, I think now to go over the items that are included in, oh, excuse me, thank you very much, appreciate it. Anyone in the public that wants to speak to this application? Yes, please step forward to the podium.
Good evening. I am a direct abutter to the Moody's property,
And your name, please?
Margaret Sveck.
Okay, Margaret?
Their back property and my back property are back to back.
Okay,
I have concerns about the elevation of the upper screened-in proposed deck, and also the proximity to my bedroom and bathroom are in the back of the house. So that upper deck would have clear vision into my property, my bedroom, my privacy. The gentleman also mentioned that there would be no impact to noise to the neighborhood and the community. In the past, there has been quite a bit of noise in the evenings, and I'm concerned that that upper deck screened in, which sounds wonderful, would impact people sitting out there in the evening, loud voices and talking. And I think as a neighbor, I should have the ability to sleep with my windows open. 10 o'clock, I think, is reasonable. Anything beyond that is unreasonable. But again, the proximity and the elevation of that upper screened-in deck, I consider an invasion of my privacy and my living. I do have a picture of it on my phone from my bedroom
Yeah, I-
window.
I have a, okay. No, I recall the property myself as far as that situation, but if you'd like to show the board the picture, that'd be fine. You can, I think you would appreciate that. And you just start with David and work your way around the table?
Those are the back-to-back property. This was taken from my bedroom window. My concern is a screened-in porch enables evening conversations, noise, music. And it looks directly into my bedroom.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did I- And again, I think the screened-in porch out there in the evening is only conducive to conversations, music,
I
and so
understand,
forth.
I can appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments? from-
Yes.
Please.
As the board knows, we meet the setback requirements and then some for the porch. The screen porch is 34.3 feet from our rear lot line, and it only has to be 20 feet. So we could go 14 feet closer, and we're not. So we clearly meet the setback requirement. And on the plan, you see the building height computations, that there's no change in the building height. The ridge of the existing house is 20.9. We're allowed to go to 30 feet. So that screened-in porch could actually be almost 10 feet higher than it is. So with all due respect to the abutter and her concerns, I understand that, but that's not, it's not prohibited by our zoning bylaw. We meet the setbacks, we meet the height requirement, and I'm sure that the owners will take into account the comments made by Ms. Speck, but I think the board also knows that the standard to go by under our bylaw and the Gale case is whether the proposed, in this case, roof deck, will be a substantial increase in noise, not just some, but a substantial increase, and not just to one abutter, but to the entire neighborhood. So it has to be a substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood, devalue their properties, not just the immediate abutter, but the entire neighborhood, and I would say that that's clearly not the case here. So I would ask the board to, again, grant the special permit on those grounds.
I'm not familiar with what the town's noise violations are as far as the noise on the evening. Is there a particular rule in the town that requires neighbors to curtail outside entertainment?
10 o'clock.
Not, I don't think there's a time limit.
10 o'clock.
Is it 10 o'clock? Under the noise bylaw, and what is it, 100 feet?
100 feet, if you can clearly hear the voices or the...
Yeah. So 100 feet, if we're 34.3 feet from our lot line, and assuming the neighbor is at least 20 feet from there, that's 50 feet. So we're not in violation of the noise bylaw unless you can clearly hear this all at 100 feet, not just 50 feet, but it would have to be 100 feet. So when you own property in a residential neighborhood, these are things that are allowed and can happen in a residential neighborhood.
So basically, the noise needs to be somewhat curtailed by 10 o'clock, is that correct, John? Okay. But it isn't something we can address here on this, I don't believe, as far as in our motions. And that's would be a, matter of the neighbors getting along, as well as involving, should it be necessary, the police department. But I'm sure the applicant will keep aware of addressing noise situations, and hopefully, if you do have a party, which is gonna be, occasional party, whatever, if letting the neighbors know ahead of time, so that they're, they realize it won't be a regular thing, but whatever, so.
But I agree that this board cannot impose conditions
I
like
cannot
that.
impose conditions on that, and since it's, as John pointed out, you mentioned, Attorney, that it's only affecting really, I believe, a limited portion of the neighborhood, and not a detriment to the entire neighborhood. Thank you for coming forward tonight, but we can't address that within the... one second here. Is there anyone else in the public like to be heard on this tonight? Okay. Any additional questions from members of the board?
No. Nope.
Okay. And so now regarding the information, documentation, as well as the findings of facts and conditions, could everyone take a look at that for this case?
I think we just need to remove your note about existing, bullet point F, findings of fact.
Okay. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, so we have to eliminate the, exactly, okay.
The part that's in parentheses?
Yeah, the review
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
existing must have been longer, yeah.
Okay, so I just need to get rid of that. Okay.
I'm fine with the rest of the findings of fact.
All right,
review.
and then, okay, so we're fine on the information, findings of facts. And regarding conditions, we're going to be eliminating both A and B, correct?
That was my understanding, and that's agreeable.
Would everybody be fine with that?
Yes.
Okay. And so the conditions would be C and, oh, it didn't, actually, we only have C as a condition. Okay. All right. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the findings of documents, findings of facts, and conditions as we stipulated.
So moved.
Okay? That was Ken. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approved, 6-0. I'd like to have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Ken, second by David. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. And, signing the voting in the case, Dave Nunnally, Chris Murphy, Timothy Bailey, John August, and Ken Dixon. And I'd like to entertain a motion to close discussion.
Just a quick question for the board, just to make sure, so the conditions of approval, D's not included, but D's a violation of the terms and conditions of this special permit, may be enforceable as a violation, so that's that bullet point, so why are we not including it here?
We are. It just happened to be a different listing on that. We're
Okay.
including, we are including the violation.
Oh, okay, I get it, and C, all right.
Okay, so we're eliminating, and when we get to the motion, we're eliminating number 1 and 2 and just going with 3.
Okay.
There's no D.
There is no D.
Yeah, there's no D on this one, just the previous one.
Yeah, just the previous one. Okay,
Thanks.
all right. And I'd like to entertain a motion to close discussion. John, may I have a second?
Second.
Second by David. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's approved, 6-0. And the chair will now entertain a motion by the clerk.
Case number 2025-08, Melbourne and Britannia Moody, represented by William Crowell and Michael Donovan. The owners of the property located at 11 Sandale Lane, Assessors Map 35, parcel C1-25 in the RR zoning district. The applicant has been granted a special permit from 325-54A1A, alteration or extension of single or two-family residential structures, and 325-attachment 2, table 2, area regulations, and 325 attachment 3, table 3, height and bulk regulations, to enclose a breezeway, hardscaping, and construct a roofed deck on the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling pursuant to the Howard zoning bylaws 325-52 and 54, and Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6. Granting is consistent with the Gale, Diedrich, and related cases, as there'll be no intensification of the existing nonconformities, no new nonconformity, and no substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood on a pre-existing nonconforming lot. And as the proposed structure will not create any additional negative impact of the overall neighborhood with respect to traffic, noise, odor, and congestion. Any relief not expressly granted hereunder is hereby denied. All work shall be performed in accordance with the plans submitted with this application. Said grant approval is subject to the following condition. A violation of the terms and conditions of this special permit may be enforced as a violation of the Howard zoning bylaw pursuant to General Law, Chapter 48, Section 7, and the Howard zoning bylaw, as they may be amended from time to time.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tim. Any further discussion with the board? Okay. I'd like you folks to vote on the motion, please. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, 5-0. Okay,
Thank you very much.
you have your permit.
I'll give you those one.
representing it. Blue shirt.
So the neighbor that held the, called the building department, sent a letter, never showed. He got what he wanted.
Just goes to show you never printed these things, right?
Yeah.
You was, from the beginning, we thought that was it.
Have you been out at all, hitting the links?
Well, I was in
This is
Arizona.
unbelievable.
I was in Arizona, played 4 rounds in that day.
Oh, okay.
Came back sore. Yeah.
This is, require action one day, apparently. Yeah.
For the chair, this is
Fitness
very
all
good.
did it nicely.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
thank you.
Trying to save time.
trying to, yeah, that was bogging things down, yes,
Well, I think we'll go forward, and I'll continue to do that.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Okay. Do we have another case? Yes.
All right, case number 2025-09, Rufus and S. Bowden, trustee of the Rufus S. Snowden Revocable Trust 2013, represented by Bill Kroll and Michael Donovan. The owner of the property located at 188 Bank Street, Assessors Map 23, Parcel B1A in the MRL zoning district. The applicant seeks a special permit or in the alternative a variance from 325-14T 3K, single-family dwelling with accessory apartment, 325-54A 2B, non-conforming structures, and 325 attachment to Table 2 area regulation to demolish and replace a pre-existing non-conforming detached garage and convert it into an ADU pursuant to the Harwich zoning bylaws 325-52 and 54 and Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6 and 10. The police department and the water departments indicated they had no concerns. The Board of Health submitted comments, indicated that a Title V inspection dated 11/26/24 determined the current septic system is in failure and a compliant septic system must be applied for by a licensed system installer prior to any building sign-off.
Yep.
The Conservation Department submitted comments indicating they would need a formal site plan with wetlands delineation and buffer zones. A letter in support of the application was received from Chris McNamara, an abutter at 196 Bank Street. No other comments from other town departments or abutters were received.
All right, Chair will ask the applicant, representative, introduce themselves.
Michael Donovan and Bill Kroll, representing the trust, but effectively Stanley Bowden, right over here, is present tonight. Thank you. So this is 188 Bank Street, which hopefully you had a chance to go out, but it's set back, way back off of Bank Street. It's well off of Bank. There's a lot of privacy back there, and there's the neighbor's house that submitted the letter in support is to the north of Bowden's property. He has an extensive property where the house is kind of at the front of it, and then there's a lot of open land. And then there's another building kind of in the back and north section of that property. So this is a pretty straightforward, nothing's being done to the main house at all. This solely relates to a detached barn/garage that is sorely in need of being knocked down. If you've been out there, it's ready to go by itself. So originally, they were gonna just kind of rebuild it as somewhat similar, and then they decided to make it an ADU. And so the site summary that was put together by the building department went through the parameters and so on, and basically at the bottom of the first page, it says, in this instance, the proposed structure meets the criteria under the bylaw to qualify as an ADU. So I don't think there's any open question on that the plans qualify for an ADU. It's in the same exact footprint that's there now. So they're gonna raise it, rebuild it on the same footprint, but 2 stories. And it's gonna qualify as an ADU, and therefore it will be subject to a special permit analysis. That garage now is 2.6, I think it is, feet from the north boundary line. They're keeping it within that same footprint and just going up, so it's, you know, an intensification of that nonconformity in that area. We would submit that it meets the standard, it's not a substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood. In fact, the only person that it could potentially impact would be, in fact, Mr. McNamara, who's on that lot to the north of them. And his letter, you know, concludes, "We are fully supportive of the Bowden's plans and welcome the changes they are seeking to have approved." So, you know, they're fully in support of it. The lot is in that area on the north section behind the house, doesn't affect the other neighbor to the east. And then there really is no neighbors off to the west part of it. So it's a very private lot to start with. And so what's being put in there is gonna be conforming with the style and so on of the existing house itself. And it's gonna be a much better improvement to the neighborhood than the current garage that's about to fall down. They've met all the requirements of the ADU, they've met the requirements of a special permit being issued. As it's not a substantial detriment to the neighborhood, there's no traffic, noise, congestion, odor, and it's a very private lot setback as is. And I'm willing to answer any other questions you have, but I don't want to belabor the
Sure.
point. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, I believe.
Thank you.
Let me know if I'm missing something.
We'll check the videotape later. David?
No questions.
Where will they park?
There's a couple spots in the driveway, and then they could park around on the side of on the grass there too, right? Yeah.
The garage on the principal residence? Okay, I'm just looking at our chapter 325-14, 3F, that says at least one off-street parking space shall be provided for the accessory unit.
Yeah, so that there's two spots, at least in the driveway, and then there's also a garage spot. So there's at least 3 spots,
I think
arguably
there's actually
4.
4. I think you
Arguably
can park
4
3
spots.
cars in the
Correct,
front.
yeah.
All right, no other
All
questions?
depends on what size car, yeah.
I have no questions.
Out of curiosity, Pine Hill Road, why isn't this frontage on, why isn't this whatever Pine Hill Road?
I don't know, do you have any idea why it's considered Bank Street? Yeah,
Okay,
it's
just,
interesting, yeah, I agree, I don't know.
all right. John?
My only question was on the parking, which has been asked and answered.
Okay.
No questions.
Okay. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak regarding this case? Okay. I have, hearing none. May I like to ask the applicant any final comments or questions?
No.
Okay. Okay, going to the list, the draft. I'll take a look at that. Are there any changes?
I don't
additional
think-
changes to the?
I don't think we need a life of the project
Yeah.
comment there.
Oh, that's in the bottom, yeah, I should get to that, but, yeah.
Oh,
So, information submitted is fine,
yes, it is fine,
findings of facts,
yes.
okay? And I would say that, well, we can eliminate, I'm fine on the conditions, eliminating the date frame, date time. And I think there's plenty of room to maintain the construction vehicles on the lot, correct?
Yes.
All right. And on the back page on this thing, we need to have the issuance of building permit subject to approval of the Board of Health and Conservation Departments.
Yep.
On both departments, in the violation of terms and conditions.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'd like to make a motion that we accept as drafted with the changes on A, conditions, on the documents, findings of facts, and conditions.
So moved.
Or second by Ken. And like to vote on that, folks? All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved 6-0. I'd like to have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Chris, second by Ken. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved 6-0. Okay, voting on the case tonight. David Nunnally, Chris Murphy, Tim Bailey, John August, Kenneth Dixon. And I'd like to entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved.
Ken, and second by Dave. Vote on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion approved, 6-0. Any additional discussion, the applicant and the board members on this? Okay. So I'd like to ask the clerk to make a motion.
Before we add the life of the cars parked on the lot, that remains a condition?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Case number 2025-09, Rufus S. Bowden, trustee of the Rufus S. Snowden Revocable Trust 2013, represented by William Kroll. Oh, okay.
I have Bowden, don't I have,
It's, well, Rufus Bowden, trustee of the Rufus Snowden.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's just a typo.
Bowden, right?
Yeah, it's Bowden.
Yep.
Well, that's good. We hate to have a problem with your title or anything else. All right, so Rufus Bowden, thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate that.
Owner of the property located at 188 Bank Street, Assessors Map 23, parcel B1-A in the MRL zoning district. The applicant has been granted a special permit from 325-14T3K, single-family dwellings with accessory apartments, 325-54A2B, non-conforming structures, and 325 Table 2 attachment to Table 2 area regulations to demolish and replace a pre-existing non-conforming detached garage and convert it into an ADU pursuant to the Howard zoning bylaw 325-54 and 52 and Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6. Granting is consistent with the, is that relevant, Gail?
Yeah.
In this case, I thought it was just part of the bylaw, but granting is consistent with the Gale, Diedrich, and related cases, as there will be an intensification of one or more existing nonconformities, no new nonconformity, and no substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood on a pre-existing nonconforming lot, and as the proposed structure will not create any additional negative impact with respect to traffic, noise, odor, and congestion. Any relief not expressly granted hereunder is hereby denied. All work shall be performed in accordance with the plans submitted with this application. Said grant and approval are subject to the following conditions. For the life of the approved project, all construction vehicles will be parked on the applicant's property and not on any public street or road. The issuance of a building permit is subject to the approval of both the Board of Health and Conservation Departments. A violation of the terms and conditions of this special permit may be enforced as a violation of the Howard zoning bylaw pursuant to General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 7, and the Howard zoning bylaw, as these may be amended from time to time.
Do I have a second on the motion? Second by David. Folks, vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's approved, 5-0. Have
Thank
your
you.
permit?
Mr. Bowden, thank you for going through this process to make housing available. Appreciate it.
Oh, this is the one that's just approving basically a smaller version of what we already approved. Yeah.
Okay, I just do my,
Further back? Way back.
I think we can,
He's got an apple orchard.
why don't you read the case? I'd like to have the clerk introduce the next case, and we'll, then before the attorney presents, we'll wait for Tim to come back, but why don't you read the case?
Okay, all right. Case number 2025-10, Mark Saffarella, represented by William Kroll and Michael Donovan, the owner of the property located at 91 Punkhorn Road, Assessors Map 100, parcel A5 in the RR zoning district. The applicant seeks a special permit over the alternative of variance from 325-54A, non-conforming structures, and 325 attachment 2, table 2, area regulations to demolish and replace a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling pursuant to the Howard zoning bylaws 325-52 and 54 and Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6 and 12.
Tim.
The Howard Police and Water Department submitted comments indicating that they had no concerns. The Howard Board of Health submitted comments indicating that although the current septic system is functioning per the Title V inspection dated April 19, 2024, as the system was installed in 1993, should fail a full compliance septic system must be installed. The Conservation Department will require the applicant to file a notice of intent with no other comments or rebuttal letters.
Okay, I'd like to have the applicant and our representative introduce themselves, and any people assisting you.
Thank you, Attorney William Kroll and Attorney Michael Donovan, representing Mr. Mark Caffarella, who is seated in the rear with his spouse. And this property is on the south side of Seymour's Pond in the Pleasant Lake area. It's also in what's known as the Punkhorn area. It's off of Punkhorn Road. So the question is, do you know what Punkhorn is? So just quickly, because I know we have a lot to get through, but
We're catching up, so go ahead.
all right, so.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. So, punk is dried wood that is good for tinder to light fires. So it's decaying dried wood, and you take a cow horn, like a gunpowder, and you put the punk into the cow horn and carry it around, and so if you're lighting a campfire at night, then you sprinkle that punk onto the fire, and that helps you light the fire. This area was, I'm told, in the old days, there was a lot of sheep pastures up there, and then in the Brewster part of it, the last Native American resided in the Punkhorn in Brewster. So,
Good.
just cool
you.
stuff that I find interesting.
I do as well.
Because I always wonder, why do they call that the Punkhorn? Anyway, you have the site plan, and mark your calendars, because this is the first time that I've ever presented a case where we're getting smaller in all respects, all right? They were here 3 years ago and got a special permit to build a little bit larger house, and now they're back to scale it down, and it's going to be smaller, it's going to be further from both the east and west sides, it's going to go down on building coverage and down on site coverage. So it's not a McMansion, it's a anti-McMansion. So those are the highlights. They are on the east, they're 7.1, and it will get further back from the sideline to 10.2. On the west, it's 4.8. If you go by the rinsing station, that'll improve to 15.1. And the site coverage, which is 30% max, and they only are presently covering 4.7, is going to go down even further to 3.5% of the entire lot for site cover, for building coverage. And then site coverage, 25% is the maximum. They're currently at 21.7, and they're going down to 20.1%. So there's no new nonconformities. The reason we're in front of you is because the east and west sides, because of the tapering of the lot towards the pond, they're not at 20 feet. So they're pre-existing non-conforming, and they're making it better, but they're still creating habitable space when they build a new house within the 20-foot setback. So they need the Gale, the DEDREC, and the bylaw approval by this board, and we would argue that this new dwelling will not result in a substantial increase in noise, odors, fumes, congestion, traffic, or the like, and it will not constitute a substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Crowe? Okay, I'd like to ask the board for comments or questions, starting with Tim.
No questions.
I was okay with it last time, and okay with all of it.
The timeframe of construction?
As soon as I can get the permits through and the approval.
Okay.
You're talking 30 days from now.
30 days, another week to that, so you're looking somewhere beginning of April, that you probably have approvals.
Sounds right, yeah.
And you have, your contractors will be ready for April, so forth.
Rick Roy, yeah.
It'd have to be tight to the weather by July 1.
We discussed that today at a meeting, we're trying to do that.
Okay. Rick knows the ropes of what the timeframes are and so forth.
Okay.
So,
Rick Roy.
right, no. Gentlemen, as far as just, we're gonna get to it anyways, regarding time commitment in that neighborhood, I think, will you be able to maintain all your vehicles on the property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like at Thanksgiving 2 years ago, we had 7 vehicles on the property, not an issue.
Okay.
It's a larger lot, goes to the other side of the right-of-way that shows on the plan.
Okay. I'm just asking questions, same time as the board, what's the consideration as far as the time situation on this?
I think it needs to stay in place.
We need, okay? Are you, is everyone in agreement on that, or regarding instituting the time commitment of June 30th? Chris?
I mean, my only comment, if I may, is it's a private area up there. It's
Yeah,
up in the woods. It's not bothering anybody, so.
4 other homes, right?
Huh?
There's 4 or 5 other homes there, right?
There are.
But if they can keep all the vehicles on the property, it's not like a vacation area where there's gonna be a lot of motion. If they can retain all the vehicles on the property, I mean, I'm okay without the date thing, but that's up to the majority of the board.
I'd be okay without it.
I agree with that, too.
Are you okay without it?
Yeah.
I'm not going to object, that's fine.
Okay, no, okay, so well, you can object, and so there's the 6 of us, and,
I'm sure the homeowner and Rick Roy would appreciate it.
All right, so
if they
I-
could Keep
I would-
cranking on it.
I don't, as long as you maintain the vehicles on the site. It's a private road, we have no real jurisdiction on a private road, but we do have the jurisdiction on a timeframe. So, I'd like to, I'm okay with eliminating 1 as long as we're maintaining all the vehicles on the property. Everybody else in agreement on that? Yes. Okay. All right, any other questions? Chris?
No questions. No questions.
Okay. Now regarding the information submitted, I had on the documentation, I couldn't quite read if I had the date correct on the building plans by Rick Roy.
January 24th, 2025, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought it said, and I couldn't quite read it. I didn't have a magnifying glass on, and maybe I should have better glasses. Just want to confirm that for the documentation.
Had January 24,
The only-
25.
the only
Okay.
thing is that January 24th is the existing conditions. The
That's a
new proposed is November 19th.
oh, all right, okay, all right, so I got that wrong?
No, DC1 is the top one, that's the existing conditions. That is January 24th. Look at it, the architectural drawings.
Right.
A1 is November 19th, 2025.
All right, the existing proposed conditions is what date? D, what's the date on D?
That's the Moran drawings. That's the site drawing.
Okay, that's fine. In the proposed building plans by Rick Roy, I have this January 24th.
I would call the building plans November 19th.
I would also, thank you,
Okay.
Mr. August, because those are the proposed building plans of the November 19th,
19th,
24.
okay. All right.
Thank you.
And am I missing plans?
It just looks like the existing conditions sheet later.
Later. You've got all the plans, if you have A1, A2, and A3.
EC is existing condition.
Yeah.
That's January.
Okay, so I can,
Those are the architectural.
I don't need to show that separately, do I?
I
Probably
don't
do.
think so, because they're building according to the new plans, not the
Okay,
existing.
all right, so I just go with the November 19th as far as documentation. We're all in agreement on that? Okay.
Yes.
Findings of facts. Anybody have any changes to what's written?
I do not.
Okay. Conditions of approval, we're gonna eliminate A. Of course, it changes numbers going through. And then we're gonna need the issuance of a building permit subject to notice of intent of the Conservation Department, okay? Oh, wait a minute. So, wait a minute, hold on a second here. That's right, and we don't need to, there's no condition needed for the Board of Health because it's already, system's fine, so they're not gonna be checking this over.
It's an odd
passed.
note from them. I don't know, are they highlighting concern about the
yeah,
construction
yes.
activity creating an issue? Or
Just
it was
making it, yeah.
Just
That
a
applies
heads
to
up.
everybody in town, right? I mean,
Right. It's going to obsolesce at some point. It's going to fail,
Okay,
like all of us.
all right. So, moving right along here.
You guys said?
I did. Yep. Thanks for checking. I'd like to make a motion, we accept the documents, findings of facts, and conditions of approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ken. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved, 6-0. And I'd like to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Move.
Ken, do I have a second?
Chris, seconds.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, voting on this case. David Nunnally, Chris Murphy, Tim Bailey, John August, Ken Dixon. Chair will entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved.
Okay, approved by Ian, second by Dave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any additional discussion by the board? Application? Okay. And I'd like to ask the clerk to make a motion in this case, please.
Case number 2025-10, Mark Cafarella, represented by William Kroll, Michael Donovan, owner of the property located at 91 Punkhorn Road, Assessors Map 100, Parcel A5 in the RR zoning district. The applicant has been granted a special permit from 325-54A, non-conforming structures, and 325, attachment 2, table 2, area regulations, to demolish and replace a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling pursuant to the Howard zoning bylaws 325-52 and 54 and Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6. Granting is consistent with the Gale Diedrich and related cases, as there will be an intensification of one or more existing nonconformities, no new nonconformity, and no substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood on a pre-existing nonconforming lot, and as the proposed structure will not create any additional negative impacts with respect to traffic, noise, odor, and congestion. Any relief not expressly granted hereunder is hereby denied. All work shall be performed in accordance with the plans submitted with this application. Said grant and approval are subject to the following conditions. For the life of the approved project, all construction vehicles will be parked on the applicant's property and not on any public street or road. The issuance of the building permit is subject to the approval of the Conservation Department and the submission of a notice of intent with the Conservation Department. A violation of the terms and conditions of the special permit may be enforced as a violation of the Howard zoning bylaw pursuant to General Law, Chapter 48, Section 7, and the Howard zoning bylaws as they may be amended from time to time.
Do I have a second on this motion?
Second.
Second by John. Any further discussion by the board? Okay. Want to vote on the motion, gentlemen?
Aye.
Motion's approved, 5-0.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure, our pleasure.
As an abutter,
Oh,
sorry, I have a question as an abutter. I don't have an objection.
okay.
So,
Podium, ma'am?
okay. My name's Rebecca Smith, and I'm accompanying Dr. Edwin Moxon. We're neighbors at 67 Punkhorn. We are in full support of this, and we wanted to offer that as
Excellent.
well. We're curious because on the water, there's a lot of carrying of sound. When do you expect construction in the morning to start up, and then how long? Just so I can prepare myself for it.
I don't, but I would venture to say it's probably something like 7:30 or 8 to 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, there's communities where they get on site and they're starting up right at like 6:30, so I just want to adjust. And then,
Well, I believe that's a town regulation, so if, nothing, I don't think it's anything we can enforce as far as time, but the town can enforce that.
I'm just curious because I moved around Massachusetts and things are enforced differently. And then I couldn't catch, how long will the construction take?
I don't know that either, I don't know the schedule.
I mean, is it intended to finish this year?
I honestly don't know, I'd have to consult with Rick Roy and his schedule, I honestly don't know.
Well, we support it. We just would love to know when it'll impact us, because we'll definitely hear it. Yeah, we'd appreciate that. Thank you. Perfect. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you for being part of this.
We're all set?
No, so thank you.
Did we not give the public a chance to speak?
My pleasure.
I said we did. I thought we did.
I thought we did too.
Check, Dave. No. So I pointed that out. I didn't think we did. You said we did. Okay.
I did ask for public comments. I thought I did. I didn't?
You did.
Ooh,
Oops.
okay. I guess I missed that one. Apologize, folks.
All right. I thought when Mr. Murphy consulted with you, he was pointing that out.
I was.
I thought I had. So, thank you very much. So I wish I had checked.
All right.
Okay,
The butter got to say her piece.
Yes.
So, anyway. You could have reopened it if she wanted to object or something. You could, I think you could have reopened it.
I would have.
We probably would have said okay to that.
All right, you have the clerk call the next case.
Case number 2025-11, Derek and Corey Sini, represented by William Kroll and Michael Donovan, owner of the property located at 48 Ocean Ave, Assessors Map 13, Parcel Y4 in the RH2 and CV zoning districts. The applicant seeks a special permit, or in the alternative, a variance, from 325-54A non-conforming structures, from 325 Attachment 2, Table 2, area regulations, and 325 Attachment 3, Table 3, height and bulk regulations, to construct a second-story addition and interior alterations on a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling pursuant to the Howard zoning bylaws, 325-52 and 54, and Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6 and 10. The Howard Police, Health, and Water Departments submitted comments indicating they had no concerns. The Historic Commission submitted comments indicating that the project requires approval from the Historic Commission as the structure is over 100 years old. No other comments from other towns, departments, or abutters.
I'd like to have the applicant representative introduce themselves and who's assisting you?
Thank you. Attorney William Kroll and Attorney Michael Donovan representing the petitioner this evening. And I don't believe the Sennies are present this evening. We were told that they were unable to come. This property is located on, off of Lower County Road in Howardsport. If you go south on Ocean Avenue, it's a couple of lots in, sort of south of the CVS pharmacy, that area. And all of the changes that are being, or the changes that are being proposed to add a second story to the, a portion of the dwelling and a deck, are not changing the existing footprint at all. They're just going up. I believe on the findings of proposed information submitted, I believe as far as the Moran plan is concerned, I believe that it should be dated January 9 instead of December 9. On subparagraph C, under information submitted.
All right, so it's not December 9th, it's what?
January 9th.
Okay, yep.
And also, the next one, subparagraph D, the plans by Rick Roy dated July 9, but,
Yeah, I had trouble reading the date.
right, that's the existing elevation plans again. And then the proposed, which I think are the more operative ones, are December 6, 2024.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And just while I'm thinking of it, we have already filed with the Historic Commission. So we're on for March 18th with the Historic Commission, and so we're trying to do both at the same time. And on the assumption that the Historic Commission hopefully will not have any issue with putting the second story on the existing dwelling from an external standpoint. So as I said, there's not going to be any change to the existing footprint. They're adding a second floor, creating a new living area over a portion of the existing first floor that does not presently have a second floor. The north side setback is currently non-conforming at 15.8. All of the other setbacks are conforming and will remain conforming. So since we are creating new habitable space on the second floor within the 20-foot minimum setback, we need relief from this board by means of a special permit. The lot is basically bisected by the commercial CV zone because they're back from Lower County. But then the other part of the lot, as you can see from the site plan, is residential RH2. So they have different maximums for building coverage and site coverage. In the CV zone, which is more liberal, shall we say, it's 50% maximum, and we're at 14.1 existing for building coverage. And then in the RH2 zone, a little more restrictive, it's 30%, but at 14.1, we're still well under that. As far as site coverage is concerned, we're at 44% presently it's going to increase dramatically to 44.2% by 0.002 increase in site coverage. So I would venture to say that's not a substantial increase. And we're presently non-conforming, so within your purview to allow that by means of a special permit. So we're looking to slightly increase the site coverage and build habitable space on the second floor within the 20-foot setback on the northerly side, and would contend that that will not cause a substantial increase in noise, odors, fumes, congestion, or the like, traffic. It will not create a nuisance, and it will not be a substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood, and would ask that you grant the special permit. Thank you.
I'd like to ask the board members for any questions or comments. David?
I'll just affirm in my opinion that this does indeed meet the Gale and the Dietrich case, and I would certainly support it.
Agreed. No comments.
I agree with what Ken just stated, and just wanted to go over timeframes here.
Without the client or Mr. Roy present, I would say that, and given that it's on Ocean Avenue, I would say July 1 to Labor Day,
All right.
and that
And
we would make every attempt to have all the construction vehicles parked on site. It has existing parking on the northerly part of the lot and the southerly part of the lot.
Okay. So you're fine with the first two conditions for parking
Yes.
on the site and the time from June 30th to Labor Day?
Yes.
Okay. All right. John, any questions, comments?
No question.
Ken?
No questions?
Okay. Now, for public section. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak regarding this case? I apologize for missing that the last time. Hearing none. I have to ask the applicant any final comments at this moment? I guess there are none. And going over the documentation and the findings of facts, so we already made a couple of changes, corrections on this, which I had requested on the form. Is there any other corrections on the finding of facts or documentation? Okay. And then regarding conditions of approval, I believe all four of those conditions would be part of the decision. We all in agreement on that?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
The north side setback, on item B, that should be 15.8 feet, right? That's what it is on the application.
Yeah,
Yeah.
15.8.
Side at,
Finding of facts, B.
yes. Thank you, yes.
Okay. Thank you for catching that. All right, so that's 15.8, but remain unchanged, okay.
If I may, if the board's going to continue with this findings of fact to adopt, if Rachel could get that to us a little earlier.
I'm the one that does it.
Well, if you could get it to us earlier, so we could review it in.
Sure.
A little bit more time to review it,
Yeah, no, absolutely,
that'd be great.
yeah. Not a problem.
But if you can't, we will live with it, because it's a drastic improvement.
Right. Agree.
Yeah, I will do my best to get it to you ahead of time. Okay. All right, where am I? All right, the chair would like to make a motion to accept the documents, findings of facts, and conditions of approval as amended and stipulated.
A move.
Okay. Second by Ken. All those in favor?
Aye.
On approved, 6-7. I'd like to ask for a motion to close, close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Chris, second by Ken. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, assigning members voting, Dave Nunnally, Chris Murphy, Bailey, John August, Ken Dixon. Chair will now entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved.
Moved by Dave. Second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any additional discussion by the board? Okay, hearing none. Hearing none, I'd like to ask the clerk to make a motion.
Case number 2025-11, Derek and Corey Senni, represented by William Kroll and Michael Donovan, owner of the property located at 48 Ocean Avenue, Assessors Map 13, Parcel Y4 in the RH2 and CV zoning districts. The applicant has been granted a special permit from 325-54A, non-conforming structures, and 325 attachment to Table 2 area regulations, and 325 attachment 3, Table 3, height and bulk regulations to construct a second-story addition and interior alterations on a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling pursuant to the Howard zoning bylaws 325-52 and 54 and MGL Chapter 40A, Section 6. Granting is consistent with Gale Diedrich and related cases, as there will be an intensification of one more existing nonconformities. There'll be no new nonconformities and no substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood on a pre-existing nonconforming lot, and as the proposed structure will not create any additional negative impact with respect to traffic, noise, odor, and congestion. Any relief not expressly granted hereunder is hereby denied. All work shall be performed in accordance with the plans submitted with this application. Said grant and approval are subject to the following conditions. During the life of the project, there'll be no demolition, exterior construction, or new landscaping between June 30 and Labor Day of any year. That for the life of the approved project, all construction vehicles will be parked on the applicant's property and not on any public street or road. The issuance of the building permit is subject to the approval from the Historic Commission, and a violation of the terms and conditions of the special permit may be enforced as a violation of the Howard zoning bylaw pursuant to GL 40A, Section 7, and the Howard zoning bylaws, as these may be amended from time to time.
Do I have a second?
Second.
David seconded, okay. Guess next time, John. Any further discussion by the board?
No.
No.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, all those in favor of?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Approved, 5-0.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, who was voting? Did you appoint voters?
Yeah, I did. You were voting. Raise your hand. Okay. Wait a minute, I do believe I appointed
You
voters.
did, you did.
All right. Now, don't walk out on me, Ken. I mean, I really, I did.
I don't think our microphone's wrong, Dave and I. We have a little green light.
Oh,
So we'll just speak up.
Can you speak into your mic, sir?
Hello, 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 hello?
Hello.
You've been cut off.
all right.
That happens.
Well, you know, you raise an objection to the chair, and that's it, you know?
Got a red button under the desk.
That's
yeah.
it.
It's good to be king.
Guys, he's on my team.
Moving right along.
Okay. Can I ask the clerk to hear the next case?
Case number 2025-12, 33 Dunes Road, LLC, represented by William Kroll and Michael Donovan, owner of the property located at 33 Dunes Road, Assessors Map 5, parcel W1-5 in the RL zoning district. The applicant seeks a special permit or in the alternative a variance from 325-18F2, additional regulations, 325-54A7, alteration or extension of other structures, and 325 attachment to Table 2 area regulations to construct a pool pursuant to the Howard zoning bylaws, 325-52 and 54, in MGL Chapter 40A, Sections 6 and 10. Howard Police and Water Department submitted comments indicating that they had no concerns. The Howard Board of Health submitted comments indicating they are still pending a recorded deed restriction and plumbing permit for the removal of the garbage grinders, therefore will be unable to sign off on any building permit without a recorded copy and sign off from the plumbing inspector. The Conservation Department commented that they approved a notice of intent, case number 032-2550 for pool construction in February 2024, and there were no other comments or abutter letters.
I'd like to have the applicant and representative introduce themselves and people assisting you in the case.
Good evening, it's Michael Donovan and Bill Kroll's here with me. We're representing Richard and Ellen Fox, the owners of the 33 Dune Road property, through an LLC. They live in New York, so they're not able to be here tonight. But Taylor, you still here, Taylor? Yep. Taylor Ogg from Outerland Design and Construction is the project manager for the pool project. And she's here if there's any questions that need answering by her. So we seek a variance here to demolish and replace the existing pool itself and kind of pool deck area that goes around it. The lot, it's on Dunes Road, which hopefully you know is off of Brooks Road, down there by the water. It's a very nice piece of property. It backs up to the beach there. So there's a lot of conservation issues in that back there with coastal bank and buffer zones and so on. As was pointed out by Mr. Murphy, they already went to conservation and were able to work through everything there with conservation, got approval, have plans for what's going to be done and mitigation plantings and so on through them. So that's already been dealt with. The health department, we know what they're saying. We think one of those two have already been taken care of and the other one will be taken care of. So this is kind of the last step for them. They already have a building permit for internal things that are going on in the house. If you were out there, you may have seen people out there already. So they're doing some internal stuff with the house itself. And now this is the last step, is to deal with the outside area, the pool area. So the house itself has a setback on the east of 10.7. The pool setback is 12.5. So both of those are pre-existing non-conforming. The pool was put in 2005. I think I submitted with the paperwork the actual ZBA decision. They received a variance back in 2005 to put the pool in where it is. And we would submit that a lot of the reasoning there and what went through is still true today, that the lot itself is dictating where the pool can go. In the front of is the septic system, the entire septic system, for this rather large house, so there's not areas to put a pool there. And then in the back, if you've got issues with respect to all the conservation issues that they had to work through both before and now to get that approved. So the area where the pool is with the slope and with the conservation issues and setbacks kind of is the area where the pool would have to be. They're looking to replace the pool, as I put in my papers, a couple reasons. One, just the age of the pool and the liner issue. Two, probably one of the bigger issues is the shape of the pool is a very unusual shape, and they want to put a hard cover on it to make sure that when they're not using the pool, it's a hard cover and no one can fall through. They haven't been able to get anything that they're comfortable with that kind of a shape. So these various factors say to put the pool in. and then there's really nowhere else to put the pool, but either like kind of exactly where it is, or they're sliding it a bit to the south, you know, away from the house a little bit, so it's getting away from that deck where the edge of the pool is. So we're left kind of with that area, the lot itself and the topography of the lot and the conservation issues are dictating where that pool could be. And we would submit that. I think the ZBA previously looked at all those issues and was comfortable to say, yes, this meets the standard here because of the uniqueness of the lot, and the shape of it and where it's located, to say that, yes, that's where a pool would go due to those conditions. There's not, you know, under the test there's not a substantial detriment to the public good. It's not going to denigrate from the intent or purpose of the bylaw. It's been there since 2005 without any issues. There's, you know, room on the side, on that east side, and a lot of trees that are planted there before you get to the house on the other side. So we would submit that, you know, we're really just looking to replace the existing pool in the same general area from that lot line, and that we think it meets the standard of a variance as it did when it was first approved to be put in the first place. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. So you took away a little of my thunder here tonight,
No.
because during your narrative, you had brought up the reasoning about open terraces, et cetera.
Yeah.
Which, regarding that, you know, the applicants here, historically, the Board of Appeals in the town has always considered that a separate structure away from the house. And we don't, at least I don't feel the fact that it would qualify under the, under that reasoning.
Yep.
So I had to put that in the findings of facts, but since we're at this point, you didn't make an argument, I'm going
Yep.
to say the fact that we eliminate that H from the findings of facts.
Okay.
Since you didn't propose that argument. Are we in agreement on that?
Sure.
Okay. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I do.
All right, so I think H can go away. And other than that, my recommendation is the fact that the board does consider relief for the variance for this client. Questions?
Yes, I just got a question. So then, if we're not looking at pools as open terrace, stoop or similar structure, what would the setback be? Because you kind of stole my thunder, and I never have questions. But how do we view a pool then, with regards to setback on applications going forward? Do they have to adhere to?
Yes.
As if it was a.
Yeah, they have to adhere to the 20-foot, whatever the required setback is.
For that zoning
That
district?
zone,
Alright.
they have to adhere to those setbacks. Where this pool was previously given a variance for its construction, and now that it's in disrepair, and one can see that, I think that it's a pre-existing scenario, and
Yeah.
I think it would be a hardship that we don't allow the applicant provide relief, in my opinion. But, John, do you have any?
Yeah, no, just to clarify, a pool is actually in the definition of structure within the, but I agree with you.
No, it is a
Yeah,
structure, but
it is a structure, but-
it's a detached structure, and not, in that particular terrace situation, has always been used, applied to something that's attached to the main dwelling.
If I may,
Sure.
to me, it's like a foundation, because it's a structure that's under the ground, but it still has to meet the 20 feet,
Right.
20-foot setback,
Right.
just like a foundation would,
Correct.
is what previous building commissioners have said to me, how
Exactly.
they look at it.
Right. But I saw your argument about using the open terrace thing, and I just wanted to kind of review that one, but.
Well, as I said earlier, we put everything out there that we can.
No, you definitely do.
Doesn't always stick, but
Yeah, I would buy that argument for the patio around the pool, but that's.
Well, actually, a patio, I think only comes under site coverage.
Coverage, yeah.
No, you can go right to the property line with a patio.
It's ground level, yes.
Yeah, you can go right to the
Snow
property
Road
line.
and,
There's no setback on patio.
Yeah. But
That I'm aware
to me,
of.
I just view this as replacing.
If it was a raised
current
patio,
non-conforming.
you know, and it went to 4 feet, then that's be half a distance to the lot line. Oh, we're getting pretty good at this. Chris?
The Attorney Donovan's comments on why this would get a variance were, as I would put them out, obviously, the location is where it needs to be, and all the other various factors you said, for the approval of a variance all made sense to me, so.
I just have one question, because it looks like the driveway is going to be much larger than it is today,
Yeah.
but the site coverage is not increasing, it's actually decreasing, so I'm assuming that's a shell, it's a permeable driveway?
Well, that's still,
Well, it is, but that, I don't think that's why, because there's other areas that are being taken out. So if you look in, behind the house, there's a deck that's staying there with a patio rebuilt under it, but then below that is a ground level deck that's being removed. So there's a ground level deck that was taking up a space that's being removed. And I think that's part of the whole conservation of give and take and what's being planted.
And do
so
we know
on.
the materials for the bigger expanded driveway?
There'll be what?
Do you know the materials being
I do
used?
not. Well, no, it says existing shell, so I don't know. Taylor, do you know?
what,
What the
What
drive?
the driveway material
Yeah.
would be, it's a cobble edge driveway, 3/4 stone driveway.
Stone.
And so it won't be shell anymore, it'll be 3/4 native stone.
Native stuff, okay.
All right, thank you.
yeah, even though it's permanent material, it still counts 100% towards site coverage until we change that bylaw.
And that's a dramatic increase. Interesting. All right.
David?
No question.
Okay, so, there was a couple of dates I didn't quite read, and maybe I'll get that magnifying glass for the next meeting. But we're looking at the information submitted and the findings of facts. I had to verify the date for the proposed condition site plan by Canal Land Surveying and Permitting. I have January 6, 2024, actually 2025 probably. Can I have a confirmation of that date?
So, the site plans for the proposed is January 20th, 2025.
Okay, how am I that far off? Really? All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, if you look, I see what you're looking up above. It's in red below the box.
Revision.
Yeah,
Okay, so I need both dates. So
sorry.
the-
All right, so the date in the box above is January 7, 2024. And then down below, there's a revision date of September 6, 2024, and January 20th, 2025.
All right, so the revision date of September, give me the first?
September 6
6,
of '24,
okay.
and then also January 20 of '25.
Okay, all right. And the other date on existing site plan dated January 6th. That's probably 7th as well.
Hold on. Existing is January 7th of '24.
Okay. That's the 7th, okay. All right.
I think C was also the 7th, January 7th.
All right, so I'm changing D to January 7th, and I'm changing C to
C was everything we just went through.
7th,
this
6th,
date
and the
here.
20th.
Yeah,
Okay.
we did that.
Was it 6 or 7?
No, yeah, we already did that.
Were there any other changes that people see for the information submitted? Okay. And findings of facts. I recommend we eliminate H, because it really wasn't part of the discussion, the finding of facts.
Yep. And then the others looked fine to me.
Okay. Condition of approval, I didn't ask about timeframes, but what is the,
You want to get started as soon as you can, right?
The time frame, I talked to the full company recently, they said they could start as early as March, this month, this upcoming month, and the expectation for the project is to be done before
And what about parking regarding construction
Yeah,
vehicles?
they can fit everything on
All
the
right,
lot.
so my recommendation would be to eliminate A on the date situation. Would we be in agreement on that? Since they're gonna be done so close into July, whatever, I hate to have, and actually, on a pool situation, I don't know we've ever had date scenarios on that. I don't think we've
Yeah,
had.
it's different than a.
It's not like to
construction of a
generate a lot
house.
of noise.
Noise and so forth, so I would, my recommendation, if we're all in agreement, would be eliminate condition A.
It's just like pouring a foundation of a house, it's still a lot of noise.
Yeah,
They're gonna want that pool in
Yeah.
July
it's like-
4th anyway.
It's gonna be the
I don't think
touch-ups near
that's
the
gonna
end.
be-
Yeah,
Yeah,
you-
I don't think they could be pouring it in that late.
This
you
may
know.
be what they need to get it done. I'm not in favor of taking this one out. You got me last time. I'm not in favor of taking this one out.
I would agree. I think they're gonna be compelled to do it, but on the
All
other
right,
hand,
so-
I think in that neighborhood,
we're gonna leave A in then.
you want to give them extra
Okay.
impetus to get it done.
A is in. Ken gets one. Turn on his mic.
Yeah.
All right, and we're gonna keep the construction vehicles on the site.
Yep.
And of course, it's, on C, you still, the issuance, it should be
Be
the
the
issuance.
variance.
The issuance of a building permit are subject to the approval of the Board of Health. So I'm changing that. Should just start off with, not the special permit, just the issuance of a building
Okay.
permit are
Yep.
subject to the approval of the Board of Health. And then a violation of terms and conditions of this variance.
Variance, yep.
Okay, so making that correction. All right. Given that, I'd like to make a motion that, as amended, that we accept the documents, finding the facts, and conditions of approval as amended and stipulated. All those, do I have a
So moved.
second?
So moved.
All right, second by Ken. Can we vote on that, folks? All those in favor?
Aye.
Did we allow people in the public to speak?
I don't think so.
Oh, I missed that one again, didn't I? I apologize. Just moving right along here at speed. So before we close this, is there anyone in the public that'd like to address us? Okay. Hearing none. We'll then proceed. Chair would like to ask a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Ken, motion by Ken, second by Dave. The vote of the closing, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Voting this tonight, Dave Nunnally, Chris Murphy, Tim Bailey, John August, and Ken Dixon. Chair will entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Vote of the motion,
Aye.
Aye.
favor? Any additional discussion by the applicant of the board? Okay. I'd like to ask the clerk to make a motion.
Case number 2025-12, 33 Dunes Road, represented by Attorney Kroll and Attorney Donovan. Owner of the property located at 32 Dunes Road, assesses map 5, parcel W1-5 in the RL zoning district. The applicant has been granted a variance from 325-18F2, additional regulations, 325-54A7, alteration or extension of other structures, and 325 attachment 2, table 2 area regulations to construct a pool, having found that the applicant meets the requirements of the Howard bylaws and MGL Chapter 48, Section 10, due to the shape, topography, conditions of the land and structures, and further, as the existing pool is a pre-existing nonconformity in need of replacement. The failure of the board to make this grant would result in a substantial hardship for the applicant. The board further finds that the condition is specific to this property and does not generally affect the entire district, and that there will be no substantial detriment to the public good by the granting of this variance, and that its granting will not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent or purposes of the bylaw. All work shall be performed in accordance with the plans submitted with this application. Any relief not expressly granted hereunder is hereby denied. All work shall be performed in accordance with the plans submitted with this application. Said grant and approval are subject to the following conditions. During the life of the project, there should be no demolition, exterior construction, or new landscaping between June 30th and Labor Day of any year. For the life of the approved project, all construction vehicles will be parked on the applicant's property and not on any public street or road. The special permit and the issuance of the building permit are subject to the approval of the Board of Health. The violations and the terms and conditions of this variance may be enforced as a violation of the Howard zoning bylaw pursuant to General Law, Chapter 48, Section 7, and the Howard zoning bylaws, as these may be amended from time to time.
Did you say special permit here? I guess, okay, so item 3, the issuance of the building permit is subject to the approval of the Board of Health. Right, okay. Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Second by Tim. Any further discussion by the board? Okay. Gentlemen, all those in favor?
Aye.
It is approved. 5-0.
The Donahue going to be back next month?
I believe so. I just couldn't make this meeting.
Want to make sure he's okay, just having a good vacation or something.
Trying to relax.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your time and
Yeah,
attention this
thank you.
evening. Appreciate it.
Well, and I will, next month, whenever, I'll try to send you these things in advance.
If you can, just the day before is fine.
Sure.
Seeing them in print's better anyhow than having them verbal anyhow, so.
Yes.
Just having it in front of you like this is an improvement, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, it goes much faster. But with so much detail in it,
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad we did it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
the whole goal tonight was to get Mr. Moore in, so he wouldn't have to come back next month all by himself.
We don't know, we still got another hour to go. This could be continued.
Filibuster.
All we had to do was start by 9:30.
That's right, we could be here all night.
But we'll resist the urge, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Certainly kept the seat warm, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I think he's got his own seat that we bring in for him. Okay. I'm glad we were able to speed things along. I was concerned early in the day, and that's why, did you get an email from,
Yes, I did, thank you very much.
but I'm glad that, glad you're here, because it,
Yep.
obviously, this moved along a lot better than I expected. So
Well, thank you.
I'd like to have the clerk call the next case, please.
Case number 2025-13, Mark and Allison Michaud,
Yep.
represented by Thomas Moore. The owners of the property located at 13 Braddock Street, Assessors Map 7, Parcel F13, in the RH1 zoning district. The applicant seeks a variance from 325-54A7, alteration or extension of other structures, and 325 Attachment 2, Table 2 area regulations to razz and replace a pre-existing non-conforming detached garage pursuant to the Howard zoning bylaws 325-52 and MGL Chapter 48, Section 10. The Howard Police and Water Departments submitted comments indicating they had no concerns. Howard Board of Health submitted comments indicating the game room meets the definition of a bedroom, therefore increasing flow of the septic system. The fully compliant septic system must be installed. The submitted site does not reflect the new septic system. The submitted site plan does not reflect the new septic system. A building permit will not be approved with the existing septic. And that was the Department of Health. No other comments from other town departments or abutters were received.
Okay. I'd like to ask the applicant representative to introduce themselves.
It's Thomas Moore from the Moore Home Design Company in Brewster, representing Allison and Mark Michaud. Allison is over here, on my left.
Floor is yours.
All yours, okay. There was a couple of, on your, just a couple of little notations or corrections, if I do that now.
We can address
or-
that now, that'd be fine.
Yeah. The first, as far as the information submitted, the item number C was the date of Moran Engineering's plans, January, it says 28, January 28th, 29, 25.
I was just,
Getting ahead of yourself a little.
so we'll go with 2025 then,
Getting
right?
ahead of yourself, huh?
And item D, just a minor thing, Moore has an E on the end.
Oh, yeah,
of it.
thank you.
But, so we're here to request a variance to raise and replace the garage at 13 Braddock Street. Last year, January 24, we received a special permit for this project because it included an ADU at the time.
Yes.
This project, we're eliminating, we're back here for a variance because we have eliminated that ADU. My clients have rethought how they want to use the property, and would be rebuilding the garage, and then we mainly going to be using the second floor as more storage. It's going to be space that is, it's no heat at all. There will be some electricity. There will be no plumbing at all. So I think that doesn't fit the definition of a bedroom with heat, without the heat. So we can confirm that with the Board of Health, just to get that taken care of. As I said, we're requesting variance to raise and replace the pre-existing non-conforming garage with a new garage with the storage up above as required by section 325-54A7B and table 2. The existing garage is non-conforming is that it's 1.5 feet from the left side property line where 20 feet is required. The existing garage meets the setback requirements from the front and the rear and the right side. The proposed garage will be moved a little bit off the property line. It will be set back 4 feet, which would be just an improvement of 2.5 feet from that side property. As I said, the proposed new garage will have a second floor. It's strictly going to be storage, game room, rec room, no heat, no plumbing, only electricity. Pursuant to Mass General Law 48, Section 10, desirable relief in the form of a variance from the requirements of the Howard zoning bylaw can be granted by this board upon finding that due to conditions, shape, topography of the land, the structures in which especially affect the particular lot, but not the zoning district, little enforcement of the bylaw would cause a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, and relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or the purpose of the bylaw. Here, the petition, I think we can meet the standard due to the unusual slope and conditions of the lot and the structures and its effect on the use of the land. The lot is a sloping lot with a single-family residence in the middle of the lot, kind of perched at the top of the slope. The lot slopes down on both sides of the lot, more so and steeper on the south side, less extreme on the north side of the property where the proposed garage is to be rebuilt. If the proposed garage was required to meet the setback, the hardship would be, it would be a hardship because of the slope and what we would have to do to slide the garage up there. We would create some issues with some drainage and retaining walls, so there would be some financial hardship there. We'd also have to, the intent here was not to replace the septic system, so placing the garage where it is there, we're trying to keep the septic system. We couldn't get any closer to that. Let's see. So any retaining walls, right now, the driveway's right there, the existing garage is right there, it's been there since 1940. The relief requested can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of the bylaw. Essentially, we're just trying to put a garage right where it is right now, so we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Moore. Appreciate it. Dave, starting with you, I'd like to ask for any questions, comments?
No questions. No questions.
Tim?
So, you're renovating the existing garage that's a, one story to a two-story, it's still a garage, but it's gonna be 2 stories, storage on the second floor, and then the existing just garage on the first floor. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Actually, it's a raise, he's tearing it down. He's not renovating.
We're tearing down the existing
But
garage.
building it
Right.
basically on
On
the,
the Pretty,
it's getting better setback-wise.
correct,
All right. And he needs a variance for that?
yeah. Because because it's an accessory dwelling,
Accessory building
Building.
structure.
requires a variance. I go over it in my head 1,000 times. There's nothing in the code that allows us to do a special permit in this scenario. All right, so it has to be a,
You only would if there was an ADU on top of it.
all right.
No other questions, thanks.
John? No questions. Yeah, I don't have any questions, but, do your homework before you sit down with the Board of Health, because I don't believe a bedroom requires electric either. Okay, but just let you know, my opinion. But, we'll still be time-wise on the project.
Looking to get started, as soon as possible on this part of it.
Okay. When we do get folks to the conditions and so forth, I do think that my recommendation would be have the date requirement in there. Does anybody feel any differently because that area?
That's right on top of the house next door, so,
Yeah.
yeah, that would make sense.
Plus that's, okay, so, and will you be able to maintain your construction vehicles on the site?
Yeah, there is a driveway on the southern side of the property that, and there's some space, other space there to be able to keep some construction vehicles, and there'll be a couple of spaces in front of the existing garage, for the new garage.
And if everyone would note the fact that my error on condition 4, or the last condition D, for its condition of this variance to be maybe enforced, not special permit. Okay. I have no other questions. And we'll open up to the public. Gotta get better at that. So hearing no one in the public that wants to speak regarding this case, Chair, any additional questions for the applicant from the board?
None.
Okay. So, the information submitted, Mr. Moore already pointed out a couple of mistakes on documentation. Any other changes to the documentation? Okay. And on the finding of facts, everyone in agreement on that? And regarding the conditions, all that are stipulated here, we're recommending to go forward on those. Okay, except the change to the variance. I'd like to make a motion to accept the documents, findings of facts, and conditions of approval as stipulated. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ken. And all those in favor?
Aye.
That's approved, 6-0. And I'd like to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Okay, I'm sorry, who seconded it? Chris, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Second by Chris. I can vote on the closing, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And assigning the members voting this case, David Nunnally, Chris Murphy, Tim Bailey, John August, and Kenneth Dixon. Chair will entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved.
Second by
Second.
Chris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I think those are unanimous. And I'm assuming no further discussion by the board, or, okay. I'd like to ask the clerk to make a motion.
Case number 2025-13, Mark and Allison Michaud, represented by Thomas Moore, owner of the property located at 13 Braddock Street, assesses map 7, parcel F13 in the RH1 zoning district. The applicant has been granted a variance from 325-54A7, alteration or extension of other structures, and 325, attachment 2, table 2 area regulations to raise and replace a pre-existing non-conforming detached garage, having found that the applicant meets the requirements of the Howard bylaws and MGL Chapter 48, Section 10, due to the shape, topography, and condition of the land, and the failure of the board to make this grant will result in a substantial hardship to the applicant. The board further finds that condition is specific to this property and does not generally affect the entire district, and that there will be no substantial detriment to the public good by the granting of this variance, and that its granting will not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent or purpose of the bylaw. All work shall be performed in accordance with the plans submitted with this application. Any relief not expressly granted hereunder is hereby denied. All work shall be performed in accordance with the plans submitted with this application. Said grant and approval are subject to the following conditions. During the life of the project, there'll be no demolition, exterior construction, or new landscaping between June 30th and Labor Day of any year. For the life of the approved project, all construction vehicles will be parked on the applicant's property and not on a public street or road. The issuance of a building permit is subject to the approval of the Board of Health. A violation of the terms and conditions of this variance may be enforced as a violation of the Howard zoning bylaws pursuant to General Law, Chapter 48, Section 7, and the Howard zoning bylaw, as these may be amended from time to time.
Do I have a second for this motion?
Second.
Second by Ken. Any further discussion by the board? Okay. Gentlemen, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved, 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, have your variance.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that exceeded my expectations on time. Just call a quick little break. We'll be back for 5 or less.
Sir, Mr. Dixon and Mr.
I figured out
Lee?
what the problem is.
What's going on?
There's a cord here. I kicked it.
Oh, you did, okay. Is it back in place now?
It's back in place.
Okay, can you check the mic real quick?
See, I just turned it off. I'm moving the cord again. Sorry, man. There it is.
All right.
It's back on.
Back in.
Talking, you're good.
Back in.
Yeah, you can hear me now?
Yeah, all set, yeah.
Having problems over there.
That's what I do. Someone's got it.
Can't take them anywhere, you know? Have to kick them off the board, you know?
They're already leaving,
I know.
abandoning.
Okay. Somehow misplaced my agenda. I'm not gonna go digging for it, but that's the, yeah, that's, I had updated a couple of things. Okay. He may have turned us off, so I probably gotta wait till he comes back. Oh, is he back? Oh, great, okay, excellent. All right, back in session. Let's kick things off with the January minutes. I saw page 1, Attorney Norcross's name was left out of the second to last paragraph. And then halfway down on the second page, proposed, Mr. August stated he would agree with Mr. Dixon that the proposed, it should be use, not used. Eliminate the D. So I saw those two mistakes, and I didn't see anything else. Does anyone have any other corrections?
Well, I think on that same line, in line should be 2 words.
Which one, where are we?
Where you say use.
3 words letter, 3 words later.
The proposed use would be more in line, okay.
Then I have, did you already say it? And I apologize, I think 2 down from where Mr. Murphy stated that he thought a single-family home would be beneficial to the neighborhood, but thought that no further something should be granted for the lot.
Oh, yeah, what was stated there? You remember?
Go back a month, no further, oh, it was, had to do with the setbacks. That they shouldn't have to come in and get a special permit because they couldn't fit that home within that. They could build a home as long as they were within the, yeah, they could put a conforming home in. The home had to be conforming.
Okay.
But you said no further what should be granted for the lot? No further exceptions? No further
Yeah, no further
allowances?
I think it's probably a
variances.
from the setbacks.
All right, so we need to go back to the videotape and check that, just so we get it right. Okay. Well, I'll take care of that. Anything else in the other
The only
14 pages?
nitpicking I had on page 7, down the bottom, the last 2 sentences, Gale cases capitalized in all other areas of the,
Yep,
except for those 2.
okay. Yeah, it should be capital. I'd like to make a motion, we approve the minutes
As amended?
as amended.
Second? Subject to the clarification of Mr. Murphy's comments.
Right. Okay, second by Ken. All those in favor?
Aye.
New business. I was asked today, and, actually, board members want to attend, the planning board on their meeting of March 25th. It's a Tuesday. And at their meeting, the new ADU bylaw will be reviewed by the planning board. After they come up with a draft, or whatever they have I've seen a draft shortly, I believe, then it will circulate back to us for review as well. That's my recommendation. But if, I plan on being there, if other board members want to attend that meeting, you're certainly welcome, obviously. If there's going to be more than 2 of us there, I just need to post it, as a meeting of the ZBA. And
That's in March.
that's on March 25th.
Well, Ken and I definitely won't be there.
We're both out next month,
Okay.
from a
Right.
quorum standpoint.
Yeah, that's actually the point.
So, let me know.
I'm free, but I'd have to let you know.
The,
Actually, question on that though, whatever they propose, does that have to be approved at town meeting?
yes.
Is it worth putting some other things on there, like the
Well,
permeable surfaces on lots and stuff that we deal with all the time?
Okay, I have a draft I've been working on with that thing. No, so I had to bring that up. I had a meeting with I was at another planning board meeting, and and we had a discussion, I believe, on this, but let me just go over it. Regarding that permeable situation, planning board has agreed to work with us, on developing a new bylaw for permeable materials. But the recommendation is going to be that we actually, that between the planning board or the selectmen, we actually have a little bit of a subcommittee of other professionals that get involved with drafting this. When I started, they originally asked me to draft a permeable code. And when I started looking into it, I really dived in and found out that there's a whole new world out there regarding permeable materials. Even materials that you don't often see that are almost, hard surface that actually permeate far more than 50% of the water, which is a goal we talked about. So it's not just shells and stones that might be considered. In the discussion that I've had with Christine, is that if we're gonna do this, let's do it once and right. And so it won't be, nothing is gonna go in front of the town meeting this year, but developing a bylaw is. And I already started to draft one, which I'll get in front of you guys to take a look at, review, and it's gonna be something from us. But discussion was, I also met with the, oh God, how can I forget their names? Engineering company and civilian company on Route 28. Moran. They agreed they'd like to be part of developing that bylaw as well on a committee to get all the right information in. Okay, and perhaps we would invite the committee, as far as, as members of our board, but as well as like Attorney Kroll, who's been very active in wanting to do something. So the idea is to do it right, and do it once and do it right, and have it more inclusive, so we can motivate folks. And the discussion has been, back and forth between Christine, ourselves, and Rachel and others, that perhaps, when people use permeable materials, that we don't just make it 50%, maybe we go for a higher percentage, to really motivate folks to use more permeable materials in their driveways and so forth. So anyways, that's still in the cards. Regarding this current ADU bylaw, so I was asked my personal opinion today, and I recommended that they consider putting in there on the code that, first confirming the fact that you can only do, you can't do short-term rentals of the main house as well as the ADU, anything, nothing less than 6 months, and that restriction get noted on the deed, get restricted in the deed, so that the next person who buys the land, from doing their deed research, knows that they can't rent it out on a short-term basis. Because otherwise, to make sure that the next buyer, and these houses are gonna get sold, but my recommendation is that it be disclosed, at the time of passing of titles, that there's a restriction on rental of both the main facility as well as the ADU. The other item that...
Oh, Ryan, on that item, on that topic?
Sure.
Because when we approve an ADU, there's no new deed drafted. So when does it become a deed restriction? Are we going to then?
They would have, no, they would. The applicant would be required to show they put the restriction on their deed before they get their building permit.
So they'll have to record a new deed. You can't add a restriction to an existing deed.
I don't know.
Okay. So they're gonna have to record, we're gonna require them to record a new deed, even though there's no transfer of ownership, because we're restricting the lot use.
Yeah, I always thought you could put a...
Just make sure we can do that. I think town council needs to make sure we can do that.
Well, we had a case here, I know you can do that, but we had a case earlier tonight with the Board of Health saying they didn't put the restriction on the deed. So the Board of Health is requiring a restriction on the deed on one of those cases from tonight.
Remember, did we do an ADU?
No, it had to do with the septic.
Had to do with the septic. Oh, it had to do with Dunn's, the last one, the second to last one,
Dunes?
with Dunes.
Septic's the disposal, right?
Yeah, they had, they,
Site plan, not a deed.
no. Hold on a second here. Let's just take a look at it. I mean, it's good discussion to have. Howard Board Health submitted comments indicating they were still pending a recorded deed restriction. So I thought you could record a deed restriction, not necessarily have to do a new deed.
Okay.
All right? So, it's been a long time since I spent 10, 15 years in industrial real estate, but I thought we could do recorded deed restrictions. It gets added to the deed, you have to do a new one.
No, again, that's a legal issue, so that's fine.
Okay? But here, in one case, the Board of Health is requesting a deed restriction, and I do believe that, in my recommendation, of my personal, not from the board, that the bylaw include deed restrictions on short-term rentals. The other thing I pointed out was that we have the new state of Mass requirement law that's saying up to 900 square feet and, or, half the square footage of the main dwelling. Our town saw it fit to, on our current ADU, to allow for 1,000 square feet for an ADU. Now, that additional 100 square feet could be significant for a lot of people, particularly if they're moving out of their main house and want to do an ADU and, rent their main dwelling or have their children live in that house, okay? And I propose the fact that we don't eliminate the current ADU law from the town, which requires if you don't have proper setbacks, that you have to go in front of the ZBA, for a special permit like we've been doing in the last 3 cases. That we continue to have that law still in the books for people who want to be able to, if they have a non-conforming lot, and they want to be able to do 1,000 square foot ADU. And so that was why I also proposed to the planning director today, that we keep just, so we do the new law and adjust that to the town. That's fine. But, the current ADU law the town has, it says up to 1,000 square feet. It doesn't restrict it to half the distance, half the size of the main house, I don't believe. All right? So it's like, and I think I asked them also to do a survey, which they're going to do. There's been like 13, 14, 15, there's been around 15 ADU permits in the last year, to find out of those, how many were over 900 square feet. And I feel that the majority of, particularly of people looking for over 900 square feet, I think the town could accommodate them by having the second ADU zoning law, that they could go for 1,000 square feet and not be restricted to 900. The other question comes up, which was not answered today. If the ADU is an attached dwelling, like an attached garage, the main house, well, they can easily, it's the state's, let me start again. The state's ADU law, it's 900 total square footage, not habitable space, 900 square feet. So let's take the last case we just had for Braddock Street. If that garage bottom and garage top, that building is 901, it would not be approved under the new state law as a detached structure. But if it was actually attached to the main house, they could take out whatever footage they need and make it accessible to the main house and cut that square footage out. So it does require it. So, that needs to be, we need to get a clarification on that. But I still feel the fact that since the town felt 1,000 was a good number, let's take a look at that and the opportunity to keep that option available to, our town residents.
As part of this, is the town going to restrict other short-term rentals? Is that information sheet that came out that is provided with our pack says
Okay.
that you cannot.
Right, no,
restrict
that, right, that was,
short-term
that
rentals
was,
on ADUs if there's-
that came from a legal law writer, and in my opinion now, as well as Rachel's, that was incorrect, that section there. I think right immediately,
That's not right.
immediately afterwards, that section, Rachel, sent out to all of you an update on that and said that, no, we can restrict it. So you were all notified by Rachel
Must have
regarding.
missed that while I was on vacation.
Sure, all right.
I missed
But that particular legal writer had it perhaps wrong.
Well, Brian, there's a lot of things on the new ADU, the state ADU, that conflict with ours. Another one says, ours say that owner of has to occupy one of those two residences. That is not part of the state requirement.
Correct.
I
So,
mean, our ordinance is out of compliance in that regard.
for the ordinance on the 1,000 square feet, you're right, absolutely, that needs to be adjusted. But you're absolutely right, the state will allow both the main dwelling and the ADU to be rented for 6 months and more. That's the main difference. But anyways, the planning board, I'm going to be at that meeting on the 25th. Anybody wants to attend is welcome. And then the results of that meeting, I'll make sure you all get it. Okay? Let's see. I did get, and I had it reviewed by Rachel, I did get found another, review of the new ADU law, which we both reviewed, made sure it was accurate, and I will send that out to you guys. And again, more information, another source, another legal writer. Okay, I think this one was an attorney, but I'll get that out to you for your background information. I also, in the next month, whatever, or probably, we may not have, right at the moment, there's not gonna be a March meeting. Because we don't have any cases filed for March.
Oh, really? Really?
Okay, so we'll keep you updated, but right at the moment, you guys have a holiday, for that month, unless you all want to meet.
We're on vacation, so that's great.
Okay,
We should take February off, huh?
all right.
All right.
I will tell you that I'm working on a cross-reference on a bunch of documents, and I got an Excel file where I've taken all the opinions from town council, and I categorized them and put on a cross-reference. I identified particularly, there's a case that came up recently, that over the last year and a half, we've asked last 2 years, it was 2 years ago, in last summer, we asked town council the same question, in cases came up. And we already had an opinion that was on the books. Before I was chair, but, and I got files from Dave and his past files, and looking at cross-reference and everything, we actually had, twice asked for the same opinion. So you're gonna be, the next couple months, you're gonna get an Excel file listing the cross-references, and I'll back it up with copies as far as for all the towns, all the opinions. And I'm also doing that for, we'll do that for other court cases, situations that we've gotten documentation for. So you can quickly take a look at it and say, oh yeah, remind ourselves what's out there, because we got, my file folder is, it's thick. And you forget all these things. At the last meeting, you brought up a file from the David given you, I got it as well, and you brought it up during the meeting, citing a case situation. I forget what case it was.
It was the same one with the mistake in the minutes. It was replaced the storage shed,
Okay, yeah.
storage building with the house.
Yeah, so that was, that's something that's going back and be able to quickly peruse in a few minutes, cases and find out documentation. If you're looking for something, so I'm trying to do a cross-reference so it can easily be found, and we're gonna refer to it, okay? All right, so I'm assuming we all like this?
Yes.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Okay. Chris, thanks for motivating me to find other ways of speeding up, okay? So,
It was a much more pleasant meeting, I'll tell you that.
all right, so anyways, if you guys want, when I prepare these, I can send them to you ahead of time. The attorney asked for them tonight, but I can send it to you in advance, and if you find mistakes, send me back a note.
I'm okay with it here. You guys, it's up to you. If you're gonna
Yeah.
send it out, send it out. Just one more thing for us to print and make sure we have. I'd like to have.
You don't have to print it, you can just read it, but it's your call. I'll have it printed for the meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
If they're done, send them out, but, yeah.
All right, so I won't, if you guys want them, let me know. You can email me individually and I'll send it to you. Okay, just let me know. And, but going forward, I'd already prepared these anyways, and then I decided, and Rachel agreed with me, that we don't have to include information that's conforming. So like on this one here, there might have been, the existing proposed garage height will remain conforming, going from 14.4 to 20. No, we don't, if it's a conforming situation, I'm just gonna put in anything related to pre-existing non-conforming, or, or anything related to a new non-conformity they may have, they're going for. And on the copies I gave you tonight, I'd made those changes.
Right.
In case we had to read them. All right, but so we're gonna reduce that even further and just show the conforming information.
Do those get included as part of our minutes?
They were in the past.
Yeah, they are.
And we didn't read them, so I mean, the general public listening tonight has no idea what we were talking about, because we
Right.
didn't read
They're
them.
part of the file, I guess.
Right, now,
Record.
Not
they're part of the
minutes.
file. No, these were often referred to in the minutes. You see some of it, but I think she referred to strictly the non-conforming ones. Now, in the future, should someone, if we have people here that are objecting to the relief, we're not using this. We're gonna be reading them so that people can hear it. Well, the attorneys will have it, and they can, in front of it, but it will still be read if we have people here objecting to the case. Because I don't want them to feel the fact there's anything that's not being open to the public. All right? But we're gonna reduce how much we gotta read, because I'm just going to include anything related to the nonconformities.
Cool.
That meets everyone's approval.
Wait,
Okay? All right, any old business?
I have just, go ahead,
No,
Ken.
you go ahead. I do have something for new business.
Oh, yeah, new business.
Yeah, no, just a comment. So, for the swimming pool, maybe just like something to look at. I don't know what we want to do, but I believe, at least as of 2 years ago, when I read it, Harwich is the only town on the Cape that looks at a swimming pool setback-wise as a structure, and there's no special setbacks if you're putting a pool, like an underground pool in. Because I just think you just kind of wanted to note it. I'm not sure if that's something we want to look into changing, or if we like it, but
It's, I mean,
I would want to update it, but
but so far, there hasn't, and I checked with the building department, and, they don't give out special permits unless it meets the setback scenario by the required setback, but, I see your point, I understand it. There hasn't been a big need so far, but.
yeah, no, this was
I
the
don't-
first that I was like swimming pool. That's why it was just kind of just confusing me, and then I remember I read that, I forget where, but that Harwich was the only one, but,
We got a
so yeah, it was just interesting to me.
We had a case 3 years ago, people wanted a variance to put the pool on one side of the property that would meet the setbacks, even though they had enough land on the other side to offer the setbacks. You might remember that.
That's,
And
on Witchmere, right?
I forget what town, but anyways, they didn't want to, they
I
wanted
think I remember that.
a different location, because they got along with that neighbor on this side, they didn't get along with the neighbor on that side. And so they want to
What
approval.
did you do? What was the
We
ruling?
didn't give it to them. They had plenty of room for a setback and where it could go. Hey, neighborhoods change. And the one other item, a new business, which it's now in front of the town attorney for review. One thing that's been on my mind is regarding what is considered, how you evaluate a substantial detriment. What factors are involved in looking at what constitutes substantial detriment. We throw it out there, you know, like water, all right, so what is it? So I actually spent some time and researched the sucker and came up with a lot of information regarding how you view, how a board can, view it, because it isn't a hard case. It's qualitative, not quantitative. Substantial detriment is a qualitative situation. And besides what the Supreme Court once said, I'll know it when I see it, all right? It does offer some, what I've found so far researching, it does offer a sort of a guideline, what I found, on what you might go through on establishing, is it a substantial detriment or not? So I wrote that up, I reviewed it with Rachel and actually the planning director, and I sent it to the town attorney for their input, because I don't want to have us pass it out here and use that for consideration if the town attorney felt that, couldn't use it, or it wasn't correct. So you may be seeing that in the next couple of weeks, sent out regarding evaluating substantial detriment. Hey, like anything else, Supreme Court votes, 5-3, all right? 5-4. It's still, people, even the best legal minds, have different opinion on how they view things. But at least it's some of a guideline on how to view things. And one interesting thing I found in the research was that even though the height might be allowed in that neighborhood, if it's substantially out of character of the neighborhood, it'd be a detriment, a building height, you can't say, I'm sorry, it's too high, it's a substantial detriment for this neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though it's conforming?
Even though it's conforming, there was, point there was, legal comment, the fact that, it's, if all of a sudden, which I found like, whoa, that's interesting.
It must have been something else that was not conforming.
Well, yeah, but it was.
Because if everything else was conforming,
Correct.
including the height,
Right.
it would never come to the board.
That's correct. It was already a non-conforming situation.
Must have been something else.
So that was like saying, well, that's interesting. Not quite sure what I'm doing with it,
Right.
but it is, there was a court case where the court ruled, the board was correct, that they could rule it was a substantial detriment, even though it met a zoning code. It was not a non-conformity.
Oh.
So I found that was interesting. And we've had some cases where we said, boy, this is pretty big for this neighborhood. And I don't know. So once it's approved by the attorney that we can use this thing that I did, all right, we'll get it out there and send it to the attorneys and say, by the way, this is approved by the town, to understand what the board members individually can use it. It's not, again, it's not quantitative, like you gotta be at 20 feet. This is that kind of ruling on substantial detriment. That's an in-motion kind of thing. That's up to the eye of the beholder and individual viewpoints. Okay.
And speaking of differences we may have, and I feel like we brought it up tonight, and let me just turn off Ken's microphone again here. I feel like we're going back and forth on, and there's no definitive answer to the date range, right? But I feel like the first couple of years I was on the board, it was always there. It was just there. And then we decided to kind of start playing with it. But like the case tonight, the way I felt like we were moving, it was densely populated areas, we always had it. If it was more room, more space, we got rid of it. But then
Right.
on tonight's property, huge property, not densely populated, we threw it back in there. So I feel like
Which property was that?
the one with the pool.
On Dunes.
Dunes.
Yeah, and I feel like that's different from what we've been doing for the last year, or.
Dave, I'm going to jump in and agree with you, because I'm seeing us going back and forth. I'm a little uncomfortable
Sure,
with that.
it's up to the board to decide which guys where you want to go.
Well, I brought it up, and
Sure.
you guys kind of disagree, but the fact of the matter is, to your point, it's always there unless there's a real reason for us not to have it.
See, I have the other opinion. If everything was in compliance, they could do whatever they wanted. Just because it comes in front of us,
Yeah.
we're like playing God here, that we
Yeah.
can't do that in this
Right.
time.
And that's the gray area.
If it's busy and it's a tight little lot, there's a reason we do that.
And
That-
that
that was my
building,
opinion.
building permits don't have that on there?
No.
Unless we put it on there?
Yeah. We have, we're kind of
Painted-
like,
That's only on, it's for front of us. It's strictly on, if it's if the whole lot is compliant, they can build
All summer long?
all summer long.
Well, Chris, do you agree, though, to Dave's point, that because I can tell you just in my 2 years on this board, we're certainly, even tonight, even more so than I've seen in the past, it always used to be, it's part of the deal.
yeah, Dave Raya was very, very, because he wanted the neighbors to be happy. If we give it approval, he wanted the neighbors to be, I'm assuming that was the reason. I don't think I've had a direct discussion with him.
Yeah.
But he wanted that in the lot. I always argued against it, and sometimes
We almost
take it
always
up.
had it in the first 2 years. of driving.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, and interesting enough, the lady we didn't get a chance to talk to accidentally,
Yeah.
I mean, she was speaking to my exact point. It's like, you got 5 neighbors down there, that's not all by themselves.
She was more worried about it sounded like the time of the day they're gonna start. She didn't say she was a nurse?
I think she was helping the doctor, the homeowner there.
Okay, yeah.
So she was his caretaker or something.
Oh, all right,
was the
all right.
vibe I got.
And that she said, you know, keep it quiet, and, but, yeah, in some cases where it was kind of wide open, what's the point?
Yeah,
But the last case where you had to replace the garage, that thing was literally on top of the other house.
Right.
I mean, it was like right on the property line, and then in that case, well, you don't want these
And
people.
it's not a big road either.
It's not a big road, you don't want
Right.
making a lot of noise in that case, right next to the bedroom.
I'm just, we don't have to come up with an answer tonight, but I feel like it's making us not look, one, we're looking for efficiency with time, but then two, when we're kind of going back and forth, like I said, it's densely populated, and now it's, we want to motivate them to get the pool
Almost like
done.
their special preference.
Yeah, well, and so, you're
I don't
right.
like that either.
Yeah, so that was the vibe I got from the one tonight, like, oh, like, that's a nice house with a nice pool, so maybe, so that's what I'm hoping at some point, we can come to some continuity on, one, for efficiency of time, but then
Well,
two.
That's
no,
not-
I hear you
That's not a
saying.
qualitative thing, though.
Well,
Keep in mind, in each of the instances where we did require it, the attorneys were fine with it.
Yeah, and again, it's usually densely populated
I mean,
areas.
so they were,
Yeah.
Bill Kroll had 6 cases tonight. And the only one he didn't have was Braddock Street, which is a small road and near a, more of a densely populated and a small road, and that garage is on top of the neighbor. It's 3 feet from the lot line, or 10 feet. That the neighbors need a break at that particular point, okay?
Honestly, to your point, though, even the other, the parking on the public way, that's not on
No, none of that is.
it doesn't come to this board.
It's just in front of this
But we
board.
generally see the cases that are in those congested areas.
Yeah, I mean, because especially the campground.
But if
area.
someone had a big lot and they just happened to be all in compliance, they could do whatever they wanted. In July 15th, they could park on the street.
Yeah, I mean, people can call the traffic enforcement officer, if they're
Right.
blocking traffic,
Right.
but when you get a
So
building.
then why do we put it on there?
Well, first of all, the people who are compliant, they've got basically acre lots. They get 40,000 square foot lots.
It doesn't reduce the noise that they're
All right.
making to the neighbors.
Well, no, but there's more of a distance
Yeah.
and so forth.
Yeah.
There's more
Yeah.
visual commotion, the noise isn't helping.
Thinking back to Tim, I mean, I replaced our in-ground pool last year, 100% compliance. Got the permit, no problem, breezed through.
Yeah.
There were no conditions on it, and
Yeah.
just build the pool.
I guess what I'm saying is I feel more comfortable doing it when it's densely populated, but.
I would agree, I understand.
Stepping out into, like.
Discussion, I agree with what you're
Tonight,
saying.
I'm
It
like-
should be, we should put it in place as infrequently as possible, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Where
Well,
it's
yeah.
really gonna bother the neighbors. But if you have an acre, or if it's big separation, or it's just not congested.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. My thought was more even you talk about the whole town. What was the one we did on, that's right near the Pilgrim Lodge and everything? That's to me where, there could be town activities, it's a thoroughfare. You got Ruggies, you got everything else there.
Right.
That's a place where you'd say, hey, listen, you need to, the whole town's driving through here on a regular basis.
Yeah.
There's gonna be summer parades, there's gonna be other stuff.
I think
But on some by-street off on the side,
with traffic's involved,
yeah,
traffic considerations,
Yeah.
I think it's between small lots, more than likely, even though they say we're gonna keep them on the construction vehicles in the lot, I bet the majority of the time,
Yeah.
they're out in the street.
No, for some period of time.
We all know construction. People want to get their jobs done, and,
Yeah,
you know, so and just getting people to show up to
Yeah,
do
I mean,
work.
and even
Yeah.
if it's not, you know, one of the one that's doing the cobble skirt, no one's driving in that yard after that cobble skirt gets done. So all those trucks being parked on the street.
Where is
No
this?
one's
Which
driving
one?
over
oh, yeah, that's right. Dunes.
Dunes Road. So you're putting the cobble, you know,
Right.
skirt at the end of the driveway. Once that guy does that, whatever else work is going on, they're parking on the street, because no one's driving over that for at least a week.
Brian, the other thing I want to talk about before we're going to move on.
Sure.
Is, and I think it's under old biz versus new. Is there any more new business?
I think we covered it. Anybody else? New business? Okay.
I would just like an update on the 2 court cases that we've been all personally sued on.
I don't know what,
Round Cove, which was Wauquesset.
that was dropped.
They're not, they haven't done the work over there, have they?
Wait, wait.
When you say-
Wait. You mean the
Pequasit?
Quasit?
Yeah. They're
Go
not.
down,
Round Cove Resort,
right,
That's Pequasit.
right?
okay, that was, they
They settled?
they settled.
Good to know. Again, I've been subpoenaed, or not subpoenaed, but petitioned.
That was like, that was like 9 months ago, right?
Right, but I never heard a disposition.
Okay, well, no, I never saw a disposition either.
I think it was in the paper.
I just know the fact that I
It
asked,
was, I saw it in the paper that they
Yeah.
did.
I would have thought as a defendant, you'd probably get notified if it's been dismissed. And we have another one, and that was, I think, on Snow Inn Road. That was a more recent one. That's where the attorney left the podium, was not going to let the guy build a house and was gonna sue him.
Oh, yeah.
What happened to that one?
no idea.
Can you ask our city
On
attorney?
Snowing, that wasn't Snowing, that was, no, that was Braddock.
Yes, it was Braddock. You are
That was
correct.
34 Braddock.
Yep.
He dropped, he's not going forward with the project.
So he's not going forward with the project.
Correct.
So once again, as a defendant, I would like to know that. Of course, the case is no longer out there.
I received no notification, I just happen to know it.
Not to, I mean, not on the same line though, but there's 2 cases in the last year that we approved that people ultimately did not do it. What happens then?
If it goes more than 2 years, they have to reapply. Like these folks here tonight on 13 Braddock, their ADU permit is still in effect. So, once they find out about, they have to put in a new septic system, which they're gonna find out. I mean, I sat down with the Board of Health manager about that case, and, okay, please explain this to me.
The one
And,
in West Harwich where the guy wanted to build the apartment in the back, that place is up for sale now. They never did the work.
oh,
The old
okay.
garage, or the old barn?
Oh, 120, Route 28. Yeah, 100 Route 28.
About a year ago.
Right.
they did that.
Oh, yeah, that's like there's a complex back there?
It's up for
Right.
sale.
Buildings?
They've not, I mean, it's right down the road from where I live. They never did the work. And then the couple that want to do those modifications down by where Brax is, that's then a lot of the neighbors were objecting. They're selling the house. They're not doing it.
This on the house, that's right.
Oh, the older guy that moved
You
in?
know, the people that are here, they came to tears.
Yeah.
They're moving because of the relationship with the neighbors.
That was like right after, I saw that, I was like, wow, right after the meeting, it got listed on Zillow.
That one broke my heart.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Oh, no, my pleasure. But
Yeah, with that one.
if I, if, in the future, if I
flowers on there.
hear about stuff, I'll pass it on.
Go back.
Thanks.
My pleasure. But they don't send out official notices that you're not gonna, you know, not that I'm aware of. All right, no more old business. We don't have any correspondence, and it is 9:28.
Motion to adjourn?
In 1 minute, we're not gonna hear any more cases.
Second.
Who wants to adjourn? Who's who?
Aye,
All
John
right.
said, yeah, motion, I second.
Okay.
Go ahead and turn my mic off.
We are out.